Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and for the last time, welcome to the regular season of ESEA Invite Season 27. It's Week 9, which means we're back to Badlands, and we're looking forward to playoffs. The first three teams are in and locked in. It's Froyotech, Swift NA, and Ascent. Going to be heading into playoffs in first, second, and third place, respectively. The last spot won't remain empty for long. Of course, this is Running with Scizors versus Velocity eSports, Dreamboat. You are my co-caster, and we're here with Azazel as well tonight. This is going to be a really, really tight match. You want to go over some rosters right before we get into things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not a lot you need to say about Velocity. They've been around for a while now. We saw them at Rewind, and it is still the same lineup. Bear on Medic, Jarrett on Demo, Kryptonite and Showstopper, your soldiers, Pete and Shamu on Scout. Definitely a solid lineup.
Yeah, and over on 8K, aka Running with Scizors, you've got a very solid lineup as well. Sky is their medic, Dingo is their brand new demo man, Rakuso and Saigai are their soldiers, Saigai on that pocket soldier, and then Evil Mr. Muffins and Scizor are going to be playing Scout for them. And you kind of mentioned that Velocity was an old team, but this is an interesting match because it's two fairly old teams mixed together. Of course, 8K don't have their original roster, but I mean, Velocity have been changing their roster throughout the seasons as well, so that's something I kind of wanted to comment on, is that these two teams have been playing for a long time. Obviously, 8K were around like back in the day, and then they died for like 2 years or something like that. It was a long, long time. Then they came back. I think the season 8K stopped playing in invites, the original Velocity team, Dead Babies Mad Guns, started playing. So these teams haven't actually faced each other in a season before this, despite both being very old school teams. Maybe not very old, but pretty back there. No hooligans for hires in here. And so coming out now, they should be looking to get a good game against each other. One player who I really want to mention, I think this is probably the key player in this matchup, or at least the most iconic player, is Jarrett. Jarrett obviously on both the original lineups, or like the most iconic lineups of both rosters. Was on the OG 8K and now coming in. Switched over to Velocity after 8K died and has been playing with them for a long, long time. One of the most dedicated players in the game. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays on this Badlands map.
Well, and I think the other thing that's really intriguing to me about these two teams is how their first match this season went. It was back on that Granary week. It was a 3-2 game for Running with Scizors. Super close, down to the wire, but they pulled it off. And that's really what they need to do here to make playoffs. They need to pull it off, pull out this big win, and I think it's going to be a very close game. Both of these teams have a lot to give, a lot to show, and that really could push us to the wire.
Yeah, and so this is the last match of the season for both these two teams. There is one other match that we're casting on Team Fortress TV, and that's happening right now as well on TFTV2. Kurt and Marcus are over there casting that one. Froyotech versus Ascent, another crazy good game. Obviously, that's a long, long rivalry, those two teams. Best two in the world, because we saw them in the Rewind Grand Finals. So that'll be a really exciting match. But this one is what determines playoffs, of course. Velocity have one more win than 8K do right now. So if Velocity win this one, they'll have 2 more wins and they'll make that 4th spot and get into playoffs. But if 8K manage to win here, then they will be tied in wins. And the next thing that ESA looks at is the matchup, who won when they played each other. And again, as you mentioned, since 8K was able to win the first time they met in the season, and if they will win this one, they're going to beat them in the head-to-head, and they would sneak into playoffs right in front of Velocity. And that's something I don't think a lot of people really expected at the beginning of the season, because 8K, they weren't together for so long. I mean, they've got some crazy good players on their team, don't get me wrong, but they're really, I mean, they were coming back from the dead. This is a zombie team. And Velocity's been together for a long time. They've been improving for a long time. And so, AK really coming out and being in contention for playoffs so late into the season is really a surprise, at least to me.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, sure, when you look at 8K Running with Scizors, you think like, yeah, okay, this team, these are people I recognize. They've been around for a while. There's definitely a core there. Like, there's enough talent on this team that seeing them in playoffs wouldn't be a surprise. Seeing them in playoffs this quickly is what makes it a surprise. I honestly expected this lineup to have a lot more hiccups, a lot more hesitations, and a lot more games that they just dropped to some of these more tenured lineups solely because of that. They're exactly that, more tenured. They have more time to work out some of these kinks that teams normally bring in. So it's definitely special to see them here.
Yeah, and talking about that, like 8K, obviously their core that they're bringing back here. Obviously the 4 players on the original roster that are returning, Sky, Rakuso, Evil Mr. Muffins, and Scissor. But their two new players are kind of the most interesting in my eyes. Saigai and now it's Dingo. They started the season off with Sandblast, but they quickly swapped him out for Dingo. And I think Dingo's been playing fine. He kind of started off a bit rough in there when he first joined the team, but Dingo's a very experienced player. Dingo's one of those players that's just been playing like invite roulette. He's been playing since I think season 14 was his first season. He's played every single season since. And he's been on 16 different ESEA rosters in that time. So he certainly doesn't like to stick on the team for too long. This season, he's managed to join 8K here, but no, as far as his play's gone, he's definitely improved. He's not a standout player for their team by any means, but he's played solid.
He's definitely an interesting character as well. Like, going back to when he started, you know, he was definitely an infamous character to say the least. But he's definitely stepped it up, kind of cleaned up his act a little bit. And now you're seeing him clean up his play as well, and that's kind of an interesting part to this to see is just him kind of growth as a player, growth as a person, and now that he's found himself almost in playoffs, it's very curious to see how he's going to do, especially in Badlands.
Oh, for sure. And we've just had our 12th player join the server, and it is the next one I wanted to talk about. Saigai, a big player for 8K, of course, new to the roster this season. But he's just, oh my God, Saigai is incredible. Really was the player who's pulling this team into the position where they are, where they're contesting for playoffs. I mean, we saw him play for Ascent at the Rewind LAN, and he was maybe the best soldier on all of LAN. I mean, Yomps was pretty good too, but really his shotgun play is incredible, the way he plays on Pocket. If you look at his stats on 8K, he has consistently top damaged his team in every single match since week 2. So week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, he is top damage in every single match he's played in. I mean, putting up a record like that is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and it's kind of curious, like creative to see him still use the shotgun because he does it in so many different ways. He'll do the occasional shotgun bomb just to be Psy, just to be that guy jumping in there with a shotgun. He'll also just use it to do a great job of keeping his medic alive, and that was really something that you saw for Ascent when he was playing for them at that LAN, is he was doing a very strong job of keeping Nursey alive. That should carry over for Sky, and that's going to be a real X factor, is how difficult the time velocity have getting into Sky.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, the way Saigai plays, it's kind of an interesting way to look at the shotgun meta and the pocket meta, how it's developed over the years. Because originally, like, way back in the day, of course, everybody ran shotgun. And then, teams started experimenting with the double gunboats. And for a while, that was kind of it. Like, every single Invite's pocket was running gunboats, and you really saw the shotgun die off. But then there was that switch speed change that made every weapon get pulled out faster, and people were kind of mentioning, I remember right after that happened, like, hey, maybe the shotgun will come back, but it kind of didn't. And then in these past few seasons, we've definitely seen players experiment with a lot more and find a lot of success with it. Saigai is certainly not the first player to pull shotgun out and bring back the rebirth, but he's been one of the most successful I think we've seen since the revival.
I spent a lot of my time following Fortress, that Aussie scene, casting it a lot. And it really was, there was a player who stuck by shotgun through thick and thin in Rocky. And he always had a high impact with it, but he seemed to, once that weapon switch change came in, stepped it up even further. He's an absolute monster with it. And that's one of the things, too, that I kind of point to people when they say, yeah, like, is shotgun still viable? Rocky has proven it is viable. Sai has listened. He has seen that it is viable. It is still definitely viable out there. And it's great to see more and more pockets working it to such a high degree.
Yeah, and I think it's always so interesting, like, the way that different pocket soldiers can play the game, because obviously last season, Saigai played with Firetech. Firetech had the most, like, impressive season of their career, of TF2 history, really. It was so dominating, and then afterwards they cut Saigai. They said his playstyle wasn't working with how they wanted to play. Okay, fair enough. They pick up Yomps, and I mean, we all know how that's gone. Firetech has continued to dominate the world scene, but if you look at the way Yomps plays Soldier compared to the way Saigai plays Soldier, it's night and day. Yomps, obviously, he still runs those gunboats, but he takes up so little heals. He basically just plays like a second roamer for their team, and Saigai doesn't do that at all, but both are so incredibly effective, and that's something I really like to see in the meta of TF2. Just like this one item change between gunboats and shotgun, it makes an entire world of difference, and both are so effective.
And it's part of what makes Soldier such an intriguing class on whole, is it's such a flexible class. You can really do a little bit of everything with it depending on how you want to play it. You know, some teams will use, as you mentioned, Froyo with Yomps, that kind of dual roamer almost style that is, as they're showing, incredibly effective. And at the same time, they'll run straight into Sai, who's running shotgun and doing seemingly the impossible job of keeping everything alive on his team right now, just because he is dropping shotguns. It's very special, and it reminds me, dating back kind of old school TF2, was that like difference in demo, how demo used to have that very big difference where Benny was playing the much more like trap style, Platinum was the much more aggressive style. With the demo nerf, you don't see that as much anymore, so it's nice that at least with Pocket you still get that change up allowed.
Yeah, I mean, Soldier's like probably my favorite class in the game, just because of its dynamicness, and it's easy, you can just shoot the ground. But if you kind of look back, obviously this is week 9, which means we've seen this map before. ESEA's got 9 weeks and 8 maps, so we repeat the first map. And so both these teams have played on Badlands already this season, and it was 8 weeks ago, okay? Certainly teams have had a lot of time to develop, but both these teams actually had very close matches in the original week 1 on Badlands. Of course, Velocity went up against Ascent for their second match of the season, and they almost won that one. 5-3 was the final scoreline in favor of Ascent, and I mean, Velocity have had a rough time taking on the teams that have been above them this season. But I think when they started the season off, that was one of their stronger times, and you know, being able to take some rounds off Ascent, they really looked good on this map, and they've looked good on this map for a lot. I've talked to the players, I know that they do like this map, but AK, on the other hand, kind of had a disappointing match, probably their most disappointing match of their season, actually, in week 2, coming up against My Anime List. Obviously, back then, I mean, those two teams, they were very neck and neck. You know, on paper, it was kind of hard to tell who was going to win. Now that we've kind of played the season out a little bit, it seems like while they are still close, 8K has proven to be the more dominant team between the two. So it's hard to tell how much of that was just 8K needed some time to improve, needed to cut Sandblast off their roster, or what. But it could be a little worrying for the Running with Scizors crew if this isn't a map that they're comfortable on.
Absolutely. I mean, I casted, funnily enough, back a few weeks that game on Badlands between Velocity and Ascent with Marxist. And some of the stuff that we saw was, some of the rounds really came down to the mid fights. Like Velocity, there was literally like 3 straight mids that if you were taking a new team, like a UGC Iron team, and like a low open team playing for the first time, and wanted to show them how to play Badlands mid, it was literally the textbook mid to a T. It had everything you needed to use as a teaching tool, and it was so well executed, and that really was what set Velocity apart in some of those rounds. Unfortunately, what broke it down for them is Ascent just started using the textbook counter to some of those. So if Velocity have kind of watched that and, you know, really know how to deal with that counter, they theoretically could be unstoppable on these mids because of being that good across the board.
And right now, we're just waiting on some issues. I believe Guy's got really bad lag right now or something, so he's kind of been in and out of the server. He's got 60 ping, which, I mean, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's certainly not ideal. Obviously, this is such an important match for both teams. Neither of them want to, you know, go in with any sort of a disadvantage. We're expecting them to be very, like, close on paper. Obviously, the first time they played, it was a 3-2 scoreline, so we do have a bit of delays here, but if you're an experienced North American TF2 watcher, this is nothing new for you. So sit tight, because we are going to be going live as soon as we can. Guy just trying to work out his ping. It is jumping up to like the 90s now, so I mean that would be really tough to play on. Not sure if he's going to try to fix it on his end, or if we're going to try to get some new servers, or what the deal is, but we'll keep you informed.
And you know, if you are just tuning in, having been over on Team Fortress TV 2, we welcome you here. This game does not have STV issues, and it is Velocity versus Running with Scizors. So, well, this should be, you know, the other game was hopefully going to be an okay game. That one had no playoff implications. This one does. This is the game that matters, and this is the game that is now going live, Cornpop. Throw out a quick prediction for me.
Oh man, these teams are so close. I want to give it to Running with Scizors, honestly. The way they played against Velocity in the first match, I predict them coming out 2-3, same scoreline.
I've got a Velocity 4-2 win here, so we'll see who comes to fruition as we do have them underway on their rollouts. I'm curious to see how Dingo Speed's going to equate to Jarrett, but they look to be pretty close here, Cornpop.
Yeah, pretty similar. I think Jarrett's going to be coming in a little bit sooner, but not getting any extra damage off because of it. Already, Scizors going down so early. Yep, there he goes, taken down by Shamu. So that's one player down immediately on the side of AK. This is the velocity mid you were talking about, but Bear's in a lot of trouble. Scizors right on top of him. So cleans up that frag. Showstopper on the other side, though. Great rock on Sky. Takes her down, and now Pete's on 1v1 against Dingo over in house. In this enclosed area, going to have to back off, but does eventually get cleaned up by the Demo Man in the end. So 4 players left alive, and AK are going to take the first mid.
Yeah, and I mean, what I meant, it was really none of the Velocity players were finding many kills. They were kind of not doing a good job focusing fire. Their communication seemed a little bit off in some of those, and because of that, it led to them dropping their medic and then eventually their entire team as AK pushed across with heals, got some kills. Sky did finally go down, but really it's not an ideal situation for them on that mid.
Now 8K are looking into the second point. It's going to be a bit rough for them, obviously. There's no overcharge advantage to work with, but they do have to, they have got some positioning. They've gotten themselves in here. Guy did a big bomb onto the Spire, but backed off, not going to get taken down. Kryptonite over on the flank, actually. He's going to meet Rakuso, losing in a 1v1 there, but this death isn't done yet. Showstopper getting taken out as well. That's 2 down from the side of Velocity, and they're forced to run back to last. They're building a bit slowly, but it's more or less even, so hopefully they should be able to hold on to this, unless AK come in very soon.
Yeah, and I mean, Shamu, he's going into the turtle mode. He's got the sentry gun going up. Looks like the Sizz actually, do you want to take this in? It's Chris. That's why it was advantage. They find Pete right off the bat with that rocket from side. Looks like that's all they're going to get with the crits crate. Bear is going to be coming up on his Uber. And there's a couple more players going down here. Showstopper trading his life with Rakuso. Crypt trying to get right in on Sky. Sky's in a lot of trouble. Uber's popped out here. It is going to find Sky. But there's also Scizor. He's on Spy right now. And if they don't expect this, this could be a nightmare as Velocity are getting set to push out.
Badlands, one of the easiest maps to get back capped on. Pete has run back, and he's not staying on the point. They do have Kryptonite respawning here. Of course, Scizor has the cloak, and he's going to get off that point. Kryptonite's still there. He's trying to pistol down the soldier. Not going to be happening, though. He does get taken down. Rakuso now on second in a lot of trouble. Eats an arrow, and he's going to be trying to make it back to his team. It looks like he will be successful, so lucky for him to be able to eat that from Sky, but yeah, Velocity successfully backing off there, not getting back capped by the Sky. That's what, or by the Spy, that's what they wanted. Still pressuring into this middle point as well. And you can see they're doing a lot of damage. Showstopper's very weak. They're gonna bomb Kryptonite in, and it's a big tricky from Dingo and goes down with that. Velocity don't want to pressure anymore. Losing their second soldier is a big deal. And of course, Rakuso did go down to Jarrett, but still that puts player advantage in favor of running with Scizors. And they're running in through house now, and they're wanting to get in onto this second point. Bear's taking quite a bit of damage. He's got to be careful, and Scizors right up on top of him. Scizor chasing down Bear, is going to be able to get that frag, and the rest of Velocity aren't having much luck either. Scizor gets the second one now, focusing down on Pete, kind of losing the scout 1v1, but Guy's in here. Kryptonite ends up cleaning up the final frag, but Pete's not getting away. Velocity having a real rough time.
Well, that was just an absolute nightmare as they tried to push into that mid. There were 5 people stuck in choke. And rather than trying to get out of choke, they all sat there, so they were eating the same span, taking so much damage. Eventually, they just overstayed their welcome, couldn't even back out of second, and got absolutely annihilated, dropping their medic, meaning it's full Uber for Sky right now, and should theoretically be a winnable push. There is a Pyro, there is an NG right now. That's going to cause some issues. It's again the crits coming in, taking off Bear and Pete. Could be all she wrote. Showstopper's trying to do some more, but all the kills are going 8K's way. They're going to get this cap nice and easy. It's just Shamu. He's cleaned up, and that's the first round for running with Scizors.
Already off to such a good start. I mean, that crit streak play, I didn't expect it at all, and I mean, I can see it on my HUD, so them coming to that last point, being able to pop it off and really just surprise the players. Pete on Pyro is doing a good job trying to reflect it all, but when it comes to stickies, those fire just a little bit faster, and you can't keep up that Pyro reflex forever.
I'm the genius who doesn't have casting essentials, so it surprised me. And we are into the mid, getting some damage thrown around. Crusoe's going to go right in on top of Bear. He finds that kill with ease. Kryptonite trying to do something of a response, but again, the kill's going all running with Scizors' way. It's turning into a bit of a mulching right now. 3 players arrive from Velocity, trying to sell out, trying to find that medic. They picked off Guy, could actually do some more damage, but again, they just run into choke. They get spammed down. Krypton behind, they know he's there. He can't do anything here.
Rakuso just so crucial on that midpoint. I mean, as a roaming soldier in that situation, you want to bomb in and get the medic, and he did that great. But then he hits an air, well, not an air shot, but You know, the scout was sort of up in the air and managed to hit a direct onto the scout, takes him out with him. So absolutely brilliant play by the soldier there. Managed to get a 2K on that middle, and after that, everything just fell down for Velocity. So Velocity already sitting back on their second point for the second time this match, and 8K, what are they on right now? I believe that is an Uber charge, yes. So they're going to be looking to come in this last point all nice and shiny with 50% ad. This is looking like another round, but we'll see what this defense can hold up.
Yeah, I mean, that Uber advantage is starting to dwindle. Bear's getting closer. He's only on 60 right now, but if the Pyro does a good job delaying, and if, you know, AK aren't too decisive, but it looks like they're trying to be decisive enough, running straight forward. Pyro does a great job delaying, and if I haven't taken out the sentry gun with the full Uber, will finally go down, but really only one player dropped. Means that Velocity should hold here. They find a couple quick kills, looking for some more, and this in fact will be a hold for Velocity eSports.
Not getting rid of Showstopper, there's a big issue. They pushed in textbook on the scout, took care of the Pyro, but then they just kind of let Showstopper stand back as they focused down the gun. And I'm not sure they really had enough players in on that Uber charge with the medic to be able to take down on the clump of players that were just sitting around spawn. So unfortunate for them, that's going to put 100% Uber charge in favor of Baradactyl on the second point here. He's going to be looking to get into this middle. Sky at 57%, so she's going to have hers eventually, but it's not going to be in time to hold on to this middle point. They could try some shenanigans here, maybe bombing a soldier or something, but you can tell all the players are already sitting back around that choke. They don't want to contest this too hard, if at all. Dingo's maybe spamming a little bit, but this is going to be a midpoint going in favor of Velocity. Rakuso just getting out, doesn't want to do anything fancy. And Scizor coming up on Sniper. This could be a big play, actually. If he wants to make some magic happen, he's certainly a player who can do it.
At one point, Scizor had my mark for best sniper in TF2. He was so deadly on it. He just kind of stepped back a little bit, especially when he stepped back from playing. But he is definitely not a guy to sleep on. He can hit mad headshots, get those huge picks. I'm curious to see whether or not he'll have that kind of impact right now.
Well, he was just sitting in forward spawn, but he's moved out, rotating over to the choke. Peeking now, takes his first shot, looking for Jarrett, couldn't quite find it. So they know there's a sniper, and because of that, they're going to bomb up Kryptonite. Not going to be real, though. He's just faking out. Going to get back towards his team and just making sure that 8K are aware. Scizor a little bit low, but still trying to peek here. If he can make some angles for his team. Bear kind of peeking that sight line a little bit, but he's going to be fine being able to rotate down towards a position that's pretty hard to get a peek on with the sniper and buff up his flank.
And Crypt is actually sailing in right on top of Sky, hits a nice bucket there. Not enough to do really anything. Taken out by Dingo. Solid effort on that bomb, give him credit.
Fortunately, you don't get anything for effort in this game if you don't get the frags, so we'll see. I mean, AK, they're not really responding. They did have a sniper. Scizor has swapped off that class now back over onto Scout, so weren't really liking that. And you can tell Kryptonite, oh, he's not just checking. He's coming out for real on the French class, so coming out on Spy, going to be trying to make some magic happen. He should be able to disguise the sniper, make sure that they know that Scizor's no longer on that class. So it's going to be a bit tougher as a Spy. That's one less target you can go for. Much harder to hit a Scout's back than it is a Sniper's, but still some juicy targets on the field. And unless 8K are just trying to go in through house right now, they've got a lot of players, but they should be content just to sit back, especially at a 1-point advantage.
This has also bought a lot of space for Crypt to get probably deeper, even with less resistance than he might have been expecting. So it's definitely done a very good job right now. We'll see if he can actually get in on the medic. At his position on Greybridge. Looks like he's just spotting right now. He's undecided as to whether or not he wants to go.
Sky's playing in a pretty difficult position. He has decloaked. Oh, he's right in front of Sky. That's not where he wants to be. Finally collapsed on by every player, and it looks like Dingo's going to be able to get that frag. So, unsuccessful Spy play. It almost looked like it was going to work for him, but not really in a position where he wanted to be. So, ball's back in the hands of 8K. What do they want to do with it? Last time, they really didn't do anything at all once they had that one player ad. Now, Psy Guy's kind of getting forward. He might want to bomb in with that shotgun, or maybe they just want to take the advantage trade, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Again, they just sit back on second, content to play this clock, just let it tick down. I mean, we haven't gone much in terms of the time, and it's only a 1-0 scoreline, but I guess if you're ahead, why move?
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing is, like, with Kryptonite on Spy, it's at least he's actually going to do something. It's not like sitting on Badlands with Corsa on Spy where you're just waiting for 10 minutes for nothing to happen. So, Crypt, he might elect to go for another sack or something here. They may elect to just change things up. Show's actually going deep with Pete aggressing through, and they've taken a lot of space into this valley area. Not going to do much with it. Pete might actually get caught here. He's on 15 HP, will get out. Mr. Muffin's trying to go in through choke. He got taken out. So very good job trading that with a little bit of a bait and switch play. Not meant to be, though.
Nope, and once again, there's a one-player ad on the scene, and Velocity this time not going to be moving off of that. I guess they had some weak players, so that's kind of understandable. Bear is buffing up Showstopper over on the flank, though, and this could be an interesting play. Bear's very far aggressive. I wonder if they want to try to take this Uber in. He's not fully committed right now, and they have worked Pete in behind, so they've already accomplished something. And I'm not sure that the Running with Scissors crew know that Pete's in behind. He's going to meet Rakuso, and Pete hitting some nice shots, but can't really follow it up. Does get taken down by the soldier in the end. So Rakuso does end up trading to Kryptonite, who's able to clean up on that frag over on the flank. Making it a 5-on-5 here. But we're still sitting on this mid to second exchange. And Showstopper maybe finding Evil Mr. Muffins. Now that's 2 players down. Now that's something you can work with. Velocity instantly pops the charge off. Dingo's all alone, but Shamu can't connect his shots, and because of that, Dingo's going to live, and Bear's getting juggled over by the choke. This could be really bad. The supercharge is going to last just long enough, and meanwhile, the Scout's still behind. Shamu not able to do anything, but here comes the bombs in. Showstopper and Jarrett looking to get anything they can. Kryptonite in as well. Dingo on so little HP. Retreating back, and all that's happening, Velocity players are dying. They got a lot of damage down, especially on a Dingo. 2 HP. But that's not going to be enough. Now Rakuso's in on middle point, and they don't really know he's back there. I think he probably should have gone for that as soon as he arrived, because he maybe could have gotten a bomb in on a Bear, but just going to let them get back out onto second. I mean, 8K are going to take this middle point back in the driver's seat as they wanted.
It was a really nice idea there to try and take that post-Uber fight. The execution just wasn't there. The soldiers didn't do enough on their bombs, and they dropped Shamu a little bit too early. And now look at the push coming in behind. Sizz will get picked off by Kryptonite. Traded quickly, though, as a lot of Valley pressure came in straight from Running with Scissors.
A lot of back and forth here. You can tell we're moving, but it's just 1 point at a time. Velocity now with slight overcharge advantage, but it's not really big enough to do anything, especially in a 5v5 situation. So still sitting back on their second, and you know, 8K, they want to try to get in onto the second point. If they can get this 2-0 scoreline, that would be obviously a bit better than a 1-0 scoreline for them. They are working a couple players in on the flank. Kryptonite and Peter there to try to contest, but just some damage getting exchanged. Showstopper, very well timed actually, coordinating with the team. Gonna find a frag onto Rakuso. Can they translate that into anything though? Pete really wants the scissor frag, a little too greedy, and can't hit those shots.
Well, that has also, again, bought a little bit of space. There was a little bit of pressure coming in through choke. Jarrett just not able to land the stickies where he wanted them. And that's really all it is about right now, is just trying to buy some of your space for your players to make the second play. Pete, unfortunately, did go down. What can you do there? If you got that second pick, you're able to push off of it, so it's a trade that you're actually willing to take, but just not meant to be.
Now, AK are sort of moving in towards House and on the flank. You can see they're trying to bomb in onto Kryptonite, who's managing to get into that forward spawn early enough, but now he's got some players that he can kind of shoot at. Saigai and Evil Mr. Muffins. That was a classic double soldier bomb, trying to catch the player on flank off guard. Good job by Kryptonite to be able to anticipate that and make it back into spawn. You can see some Christmas ornaments flying over the houses here as Pete's trying to make something happen with that weapon. But no, we're still just sort of sitting back and forth here. I mean, AK, once again, they're sort of in house. They've got Saigai up in here, and if either player just holds W for a few short seconds, this could be an exchange, but at this point, nobody's willing to risk it, although it was a bomb in from Rakuso. He's quite a bit of damage and not able to clean up on a second rocket on a Bear.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to the Rap Assassin, I never really grasped how, like, brutal that was to play against until I got hit by one in TF2PL. At like long range, you take like 70 damage. It's brutal. Like your entire screen just starts shaking. It goes red. You're like half health, and you're like, "What is this?" Yeah. I can see why Pete runs it. He's definitely good at hitting it. I've seen him hit it quite a few times. But we'll see, you know, if they can kind of convert off of that. Size pressuring a lot through house right now with Sky, just trying to get any kind of pressure, any kind of picks wherever they can buy one.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen it get a kill or anything, but you're basically not giving anything up. You're giving up the Boston Basher, your ability to build, but Pete's on flank scout, and usually Shamu's the one building anyways, so there's really not too much of a downside for running that weapon. I think it's reduced melee damage, but that's not too big of a concern. Here we see some AK players once again aggressing in onto the flank, trying to catch out Kryptonite or Pete or somebody. They've managed to work Scizor into the back lines, so they've got to watch out for him. Velocity are aware. It seems like they're turning around. Pete's back there watching for him, so they know he's back there, but he's going to be a bit of a nuisance. He's going to be in the back of their heads, and maybe if he can win a 1v1 or something, he can actually turn the tides in their favor. Not going to win it, though. Pete manages to come out on top there.
Yeah, it was a solid attempt, good effort. Just not able to do much more than that. Now Shamu, again, he just walks into choke and gets picked off by that coordinated spam. Something that these Velocity players, even when they've tried to push, have done a little bit too much. Is just hung around in a very, very close combine way too long, take too much damage, and now they drop Shamu because of it.
Here comes the Ubercharge straight in on the second point. AK are tired of waiting. They're going to get the force out of Bear, but it's a little bit late. And Sky trying to get back in. She's going to be A-OK. Sky in alone is going to get cleaned up by the 3 Velocity players all collapsing on him. So that was an exchange, but really nothing happening off of it. Sky going down is the only pick so far. Velocity are sort of working their way in through Valley. Showstopper's getting aggressive, and they certainly have to be wary of that. AK, they could get collapsed on here, but Jarrett's been sort of left alone, and Rakuso's going to be able to get that frag. Kryptonite's coming in to save his player, get some revenge, but the scouts of Velocity are in on this middle point. They're trying to get some damage down. Shamu's already eaten quite a bit himself, but Scizors well going down. Christmas Ornament not hitting anything, and now Velocity are in some trouble with Pete on very low HP. AK have retaliated, and they're running in through this choke. If they can get any more frags here, that would be ideal, but it looks like Velocity with only 3 up are going to have to retreat back to last, meaning the second point goes in favor of running with Scizors.
Something that's worth kind of paying attention to and seeing if it continues as a trend throughout this game is I feel like Pete and Shamu aren't quite hitting as much as they're used to hitting. I feel like the scouts just haven't quite had the impact that we'd expect of them in some of these pushes, and because of that, that has cost them. They do have a bit of an off-class shenanigans going on. Pete's just going to be on Sniper. He does that a lot, but Rakuso appears to be on Spy right now. See whether or not he can make some huge drop here.
Well, he did just get checked. Kryptonite was on Spy looking for off-classes, so they should know there's a Spy, and Showstopper bumps into him, so one of the least successful Spy plays that we could have seen. Rakuso unlucky in that situation. That puts player advantage in favor of Velocity, but sitting on Badlands last, and it's so hard to do anything with that. We'll see if they can work somebody in. Pete's sort of getting aggressive, and he's now backed out, but he might just take that forward spawn, back spawn, and, you know, just play around back there where he can. Dingo going down. That's certainly something you can work off of, especially when Pete gets another frag onto Evil Mr. Muffin. So they've worked themselves into a 2-player advantage. One of them's the Demo Man, and you can tell AK are kind of collapsing here. They don't want to be in the situation. Bear's going to pop Supercharge off as they see Shy Guy. They might get this frag, but Bear drops down, and he's kind of all alone. Now he's having to run away, and Scizors right next to him. As soon as Supercharge fades, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Finds Jarrett, so he's going to be A-OK get back last. Unless Scizor can keep getting the frags. Yes, he can. Scizor, he's going to be getting right back onto this last point and capping the game off. Crazy play by the scout of AK.
And somewhere out there, Marxist is having an aneurysm watching that, because that's not what you want to do. You don't want to pop Uber out of last. Yes, you got the force out, but you dropped your entire team for a forced Uber, and then they kill you. That's not good. That completely backfired, just not the execution that Velocity needed. And now they are down 2 rounds going to this next mid-fight. They are going quite aggressive, quite far forward, trying to throw Crypt in there. It did some good damage to Dingo, but they need to start finding these kills. Rakuso once again finds Bear super early into these mid-fights. It's the 3rd one in a row that he's done it. Now again, Velocity are all kind of bunched up. They're trying to go forward. They will at least kill Sky, but they're dropping all their players once again. Health is quite poor. Scizors should kill Jarrett. Now it's just Pete and Shamu. Can they win this mid out from the 3 players of running with Scizors? Shamu's found 1. He's looking for some more. Pete's got Mr. Muffins on the ropes as well here too. They might actually be able to pull this one off, except for the fact that Dingo smacks Shamu down with a big fat pipe. Smacks another one in there, and Pete's got to run away. Dingo single-handedly winning that mid for his team.
I mean, this is what comes out of experienced Demo Man players. I mean, that probably should have gone in favor of Velocity. They had 2 scouts left alive compared to 2 scouts in Demo Man, but they were much healthier, and just some crazy pipes coming out of Dingo, managing to save that mid for his team. So once again, AK in the driver's seat of this round, and this has been a common theme that we've seen. Even when Velocity won that second mid, they lost it after a long, grueling back and forth. Scizor now coming up on the Spy class, so this is a bit unexpected. You can tell Bear's looking behind them every now and again, so they are a little bit weary here, but Scizor could make this work. You can tell he's in position. Showstopper has the sense, though. He's going to take down that Spy play before anything bad can come of it.
Yeah, his Spidey senses were tingling. He turned around, got the kill. And now that's actually going to trigger Velocity to take a lot of ground hit. It's done very good damage. And now that Uber's coming out, Showstopper's just happy to take this exchange. They will drop Pete over on the flank, but they pick off Dingo. I think that's a trade that you're happy to take. And now now they should find some more kills here potentially. Jarrett's just churning out the damage. There goes Mr. Muffins. Soldiers trying to go in, get piped up very high. Jarrett, the double. What a play by him. But because they have dropped so many players, Velocity do need to back out. So double air pipes regardless, they lose the fight.
Ah, man, that's a win in my heart for Velocity. Jarrett completely styling on his old team. That's always fun to see when the Demo Man goes off like that. So it's been good Demo Man play all around this game. But we're still in this mid to second chokehold that we've been seeing for quite a bit of this game. We're starting to tick down. We're under 10 minutes left in this round, or in this half, sorry. And if Velocity don't start getting some rounds on the board, this could be bad for them. Obviously, the half ends if it's 3-0, regardless of how much time's left on that scoreboard. So AK could try to come in and end it off early, but they don't even really have to at this point. Velocity had been struggling to win these fights. They've been struggling to actually get aggressive, and because of that, AK had a just brilliant time. Now they're going to send their soldiers in. Rakuso getting pretty denied there. Not going to happen for him. Not really enough damage on any player for Saigai to justify committing to that. Now Kryptonite looking like he wants to go for that counter bomb. Maybe just work Pete in, though. Pete, he was seen, right? Yeah, evil Mr. Muffins goes underneath him. He's going to see him. He sees the back of Sky, but he's so low at this point. He's going to manage to get back out. And meanwhile, his team is popped Uber Charge in, so there's a lot of fighting happening all over the place. 2 players in behind for Velocity. Scizor over on the flank can find 1 frag. There goes the second one. No soldiers left on the side of Velocity. Evil Mr. Muffin still back there looking for Pete, but I think AK just want to go forward with this. They're in on the second point already, dealing some damage down onto the 3 players who are still back on Spire, and you can tell, yes, technically Velocity have 4 alive, but only 3 of them are actually fighting. Pete's all the way back from the enemy team second. Nobody else is back there. He's doing nothing. So Pete's going to still be running all the way back. He's probably just going to get in the forward spawn. No, he's going to try to go on to Sky, but oh my god. Everybody's just completely shutting him out. So Pete goes down. Now it's pretty much even Uber charges, but AK looking to get in the last.
Absolutely the right play by running with Scizors. Ignore the player that was back there, and now you can get some pressure coming in on the right-hand side. They will drop 2. Ooh. No real loss because it's even Ubers, and Pete is still down, so it's going to be a bit more difficult for Velocity to push out. They are still trying to go for it, but if they backfire just the way that they did the last time around, this could turn into a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, it's always risky pushing out of Badlands last. You can always have a back cap, but it looks like nobody's really in position. Rakuso narrowly winning a 1v1 against Kryptonite over on the flank. Meanwhile, Uchars get exchanged over on this second point. Nobody dead in this exchange just yet, but Velocity do manage to find the cap in the middle of this. Scizor now flanking in on Jarrett, finds him completely isolated, easily picks up that frag. Velocity taking a lot of damage. You can tell they're all very low, and they're going to lose just Jarrett so far. Shamu managed to run away. Showstopper still trying to jump around. Sky's eating a lot of damage, and Pete's there to finish up, but he's not pressuring because he knows Shamu's in behind. Bear had to die for that, but at least that's no Uber charge advantage for the enemy team. Kryptonite still jumping up to the second point as well. Rakuso should be going down here if any player can find his last few bits of damage, but he gets the frag anyways. And Shamu going to take down the exact same time on the flank. It's just Pete left alive against 4 players here on second. Everybody's so low on the side of 8K, but it doesn't matter because Velocity can't clean up.
Yeah, over saying they're welcome a little bit there. I mean, the big difference between this round and the last round was the fact that they at least got the second cap off of it. So it did hold them off enough that despite bleeding all of their players, the second point still had to be recapped, so they will have more of them up here able to hold this last point. But again, I mean, with these post-Uber fights are really what it's coming down to, I feel, is the scout play. Shamu and Pete just aren't quite playing at the same level as Sizz or evil Mr. Muffins. Mr. Muffins has looked almost like a Terminator if you've been watching him in first person at all. Just kind of running around, just kind of honing in on things. Looks like cold, calculated aim, and he's having himself a very nice first half here.
Now Velocity are setting themselves up for a nice defense. They got their Pyro, they got their Engineer, but there's also like 6 minutes left on the clock, and they're on their last point, and they're down 2-0. This isn't where they want to be. Honestly, with the round timer higher than the half timer, AK could just stall out for the entire rest of the map, and Velocity wouldn't have anything to say about it, really. But with Dingo going down to a big snipe, that could change things here. Velocity, if they can start getting their momentum, it's going to be big, but once again, it's always so risky, especially when your flanking player goes down. Rakuso wins that 1v1, and he's on the last point. Shamu's here, but he's kind of losing this, finally. Jumping over those rockets, but just because there was so much cap time, now Velocity are forced to stay on this last point, and once again, this time keeps ticking down, and Velocity are having a rough time getting off a last.
Yeah, Velocity, these transitions just aren't particularly clean. They're dropping players, not clearing the exits as needed to. and that's really set them up to a point where they've just kind of had to spend half this game turtling on last or losing rounds. It's just really not an ideal situation at all.
Pete up on... Oh, it was Sniper. He's on Spy, but he's just checking off classes. We'll see what he ends up switching to after this. But looks like it's going to be the Scout still, so... Not really liking the Sniper. Scizor runs in, eats a rocket from Showstopper. That was surely just a sack to switch off to Sniper. Maybe Spy, but probably Sniper. Velocity, we'll see if they can actually get anything because of that. Probably they just run Pete in, maybe. It's kind of tough in this situation.
They dropped Crypt for it, so it was a decent attempt, but... Yeah, and I was willing to put money on the fact that Scizor would come up Sniper. It's just what he does. He's been such a good sniper for so long. You know, Pete's gonna know that. He did check for off classes, so they should know that Scizor's there. Rakuso tried to bomb forward again, taken out. Sai saying that they have a spy, totally blatant, but Crypt correcting him. Just a little bit of banter there. Good, love to see it. And they knew there was a sniper, and Showstopper still got killed to it. And Pete actually lost the 1v1 and lower down to Evil Mr. Muffins. Now it's the spot where they're 2 players down. This should be an absolute push coming in for running with Scizors. They are getting into towards last right now. Cornpop.
Yeah, they want to end off the half right here to 3-0 scoreline. They haven't popped yet. It's been a long time. Finally popping off on Side Guy, trying to get him to jump up top. Bear has popped in kind, but they haven't gotten any frags to supercharge, and they're just running away now. 8K maybe trying to take this post-supercharge fight if they can get some players in behind over onto a scattered velocity, and that's exactly what happens. Showstopper does get taken down, making it a 5v6, but with Scizor still on Sniper, if he's not hitting any shots, this is still a tough point to push into. No Uber charges on the field means they can kind of poke in. Evil Mr. Muffins on this right-hand side, trying to take this 1v1 against Pete, and he is winning it, but able to run away. You see Evil Mr. Muffins does get the final frag down onto him, and he's running forward. Does end up just getting taken down, but he got so much positioning for his team. Jarek's so low, and another time on point from Crusoe. Shamuga trying to block that. He does get taken down. Showstopper now the only player left alive with Bear. There's so little HP. Bear can't hit the arrows, and now he's the last player alive against 3 players. And Dingo takes them out with a pipe. 3-0 half for running with Scizors.
And again, I mean, it's just these situations, I feel, where these scouts are just being outworked by Evil Mr. Muffins and Scizor. I mean, they're just doing so much, having so much impact, winning more 1v1s than I feel like they're losing. And because of that, velocities, like their post-ubers are poor. The scrappy fights just aren't coming out in their favor because the scouts are doing too much work for running with Scizors.
I've got stats up now, and the thing I always look for when I'm looking at 8K stats is the damage coming out of Side Guy. Not actually top damage against team. He's only second right now, but that's because Dingo's been putting in the work, and I can absolutely tell that. I mean, he had a really good game. He was hitting a lot of flashy pipes. I noticed Scizor and Evil Mr. Muffins as well, putting in a lot of work for their team. Both sitting at only 15 frags, but they were important frags, and I think they're happy with that. Side Guy apparently still having ping issues as they're typing into chat. So that's kind of unfortunate, but clearly it's not hurting them too bad here.
Well, and here's, I touched on the scouts not having a good game, and here's a statistic that really emphasizes that. Is you look at Pete right now. He's on 6-13. He's bottom fragging in the server, really not having himself a particularly strong game. Both he and Shamu's DPM's not amazing, 160. Like, sure, there was a lot of stalemates, but again, being outclassed by Evil Mr. Muffins up at 192. Scizors close to them at 165, but both of those scouts are quite heavily positive, 15-11 and 15-8. And really, I mean, if your scouts are if you're getting run over by scouts and your scouts aren't being able to put up a fight behind them, you're not going to be in a spot where you're winning too many rounds, and in this case, not winning a round.
Dreamboat, how much of that poor play by Pete do you think is on his use of the Rap Assassin in this game?
You know, I mean, if you hit the occasional Rap Assassin shot, it might be better, but no, I mean, it feels like he's taking some questionable 1v1s at times. He's trying to do a little bit too much. Some of the flanks that he's gone on, like, I like the intent behind them, but he's whiffing shots that he probably shouldn't. There was one I can think of vividly was when he was fighting Rakuso up in their bats behind when running with Scizors were holding second, and he hits the first 2 shots, drops Rakuso down to like 20 HP, and then misses the next 4 scattergun shots and eventually gets cleaned up, and Rakuso didn't die. So, I mean, it's just kind of stuff like that where it's a spot where you think Pete's got some of these skills. He's dropped Evil Mr. Muffins down in a couple 1v1s very low, where you think that, like, yeah, this is like surefire going to happen. and then he just isn't able to hit the final shot he needs to. Might have a case of the yips. It could just be the entire season just getting to him, the pressure of the situation. Just not a particularly good sign.
Yeah, certainly. I'm glad you mentioned the pressure because this is such an important match for both teams. Obviously, if you make it into playoffs, that's cash in your pocket regardless of how you perform in there. And it's tough. It'd be tough for either of these teams to get anything higher than fourth in playoffs. Not impossible. We've seen Velocity and Swift for that matter, or sorry, 8K for that matter, have close games against both Swift and Ascent. But certainly, I think you'd put your money on fourth, but that's still a fair bit of cash compared to what you get in fifth, which is a big fat $0 check. So, I mean, this it's money on the line. It's also pride. 8K obviously just coming back. They're like this. Yeah, they're just like, hey, I guess we'll play TF2 again. And Velocity next to them. I mean, they're a team that've been playing for so long. You can tell like they really, really want to be in this like top position. And last season, they had a really rough time where they just lost playoffs to Faint Gaming. This season as well, if that first half's anything to go by, it might be the exact same story, just missing out on playoffs. So you got to feel bad for them in a situation like this. They certainly came into the season expecting to get fourth. I think most people would have placed them in fourth, but now they're being challenged by the Running with Scissors crew. And after that first half, they really need to change stuff up if they want to, make back into playoffs.
And this is a feel bad moment for me as well. I'm sitting here wearing one of my most comfortable hoodies, which happens to be the Velocity hoodie, as I'm watching Velocity just crumble their season away. Is this going to be an ungodly collapse for them, or do they have it in them to pull it back? Cornpop, what do you think? Can they do it? Do you believe in Velocity?
No, I originally predicted 8K. This is exactly what I was going for, or what I predicted. Not quite
Yeah,
exactly
I don't believe
score,
either.
But
This is unfortunate. Well, we'll see if that halftime's enough for Pete to step it up. See if Velocity can at least bring back around as we are into the next mid-fight. Mr. Muffin's going sky high off of that little pipe. And now the bomb's coming forward. Rakuso once again getting so much pressure in behind. These Velocity players are split right now, but it's going to be Sky getting taken out by the nice sticky sniping of Jarrett. Finally, the defense coming in from the Soldier. Showstopper gets a kill on the Dingo. It is all going Velocity's way. They've only dropped Showstopper. This is finally what we needed to see. Their mids that were so good earlier in the season are being stepped up right now. Mr. Muffin's trying to get forward, trying to get on the medic. He'll be cleaned up, and it is just Side trying to escape. And I'm not even sure he can do it.
no, he cannot. Pete taking him down on that 1 HP, and really in that mid fight, I think Jarrett and Barrett, my players of that fight. Certainly Jarrett, nothing fancy coming out of him, but he just did a lot of really early damage that 8K didn't counter at all. So just to start it off, I mean, Velocity had the health advantage, and from there, they really never lost it. And Bear surviving with 11 HP after getting bombed on by the Soldier. He had some nice surfs, nice dodging. I've always been a fan of Bear's dodging techniques, so it's good to see him staying alive in that mid-fight where a lot of medics would have ended up dying. Now he's gonna be rewarded with a 20% Uber ad. Not really that large. It's been built fairly quickly by Sky. So if Velocity are trying to take this in, which they are, they could be shocked. It's already 95% Uber charge from Sky. She does have it now, and she's gonna be able to pop it right off, saving even Mr. Muffin. Shamu not able to clean up on that frag, and Jarrett's in a lot of trouble, so this is already not going perfectly as planned. Jarrett, Shamu both get taken down by Dingo and Bakuso respectively. That leaves 4 alive on the side of Velocity, and just some quick building from Sky, and not fast enough for that push out from Velocity.
Yeah, beautiful job getting that Uber up. Now they're able to try and push out here, try and grab second. Need to find some of these kills a little bit quicker, because if they start dropping players, this could be a nightmare for them. Looks as though they are going to get a lot more Spire control than they probably should have, and because of that, Velocity is going to give up second.
Okay, so it was looking good for them at the very start of this. Obviously, that fail push in the last, not what they wanted. They're at a slight Uber charge disadvantage, nothing they really need to worry about. We're probably going back to this classic mid to second stalemate that we've been seeing for so much of this game so far. But still, Velocity hold the middle point. It's a brand new half. They can shake it off. I mean, they're only down by 3 rounds. Getting 5 rounds in here, it's going to be a little tough, but 3 definitely doable, and they're not in a bad position right now. All right, they started that off very positively. Now they have 100%. Now they can work their way in on the flank. Not able to find any frags here, but Pete's worked his way in, taking a whole bunch of damage. We'll see what class he comes up on.
Yeah, and it is even Ubers right now, just trying to see where they can go. Crypt going down to size, actually going to allow a lot more space to be grabbed. they could potentially push off of this. Mr. Muffins has worked his way in behind onto this point as well. That's a lot of pressure. He gets mulched by Shamu, and the Uber is forced out of there, and they need to start finding something with it. And instead, they're just bleeding all their players, hemorrhaging them, if you will, as they are all falling, and now Velocity have to back out. Both medics live, so it is going to stay even Ubers. But a nightmare situation for Velocity.
Kryptonite needed to not die there. That was really poorly timed death from him. That puts your team in a 64 situation. And at that point, Velocity was so spread out that AK just had more players, and they could really focus fire and focus the players that weren't Uber charged. Bear was in a tough spot where he could either Uber charge these players or those players, and he couldn't do both because they were so spread out. So because of that, they dropped too many players. They had to back off, and that's going to be 8K taking this middle point now. Pete, he's on Spy. We'll see if he actually comes, walks out of spawn with it. But it is even Uber charge once again, pretty much down to the percent. But AK is still getting aggressive on this flank. I don't think this is a push. The medic's not really with him, but it's 3 players, and Scizors has worked his way in. That's exactly what they wanted. If they can clean up on Muffins or something, this could be good for them. They are, but Bear drops it to Sky Guy. Oh no, I didn't even see it, but I heard it. With him going down, that's going to be 100% Uber charge in favor of Sky, and they're just walking out here. Jarrett thrown up into the skybox. Gonna crater to his death. I like the jump. I like the enthusiasm. Execution not quite there. Meanwhile, though, Pete is on the back half. This could be interesting to manage to get this. Dingo is back to try to contest him. That's a Demo Man Scizor here trying to clean up off his teammates' damage regardless, and Scizor's going to be able to win that, and with that leaves only 2 players left alive on the side of Velocity. It's the Pocket and Medic combination here trying to defend against 6 players on last, and Showstopper's getting damage down on the Sky, but he realizes that that's not who he needs to be focusing. Shamu on the heavy, gonna come down, and with the help of Jarrett takes down Rakuso. So this is actually looking like a solid defense. They take down 2 players. Rakuso and Evil Mr. Muffins both try to get in there, and barely off those respawns, Velocity are gonna hold on.
Yeah, and I mean, they are left in a situation where it's super slight ad for Sky. It's only about 10-15%, so not enough to work with, which means that Velocity potentially have a chance to continue to hold this. This being built a lot harder here by Sky, so they've eked out about a 20-25%, but really not quite enough to push off of.
No, definitely not, and especially with the built Ubers. I mean, it's hard to know that you even have those, so... Velocity sitting back on their last. They didn't lose that round, but they're still on their last.
And we say they don't know this, but Scizors walked right in and the Ubers popped out. They certainly believe they have some form of an advantage, and because of that, they found Jarrett, they found the sentry gun. They've done a lot of work. Dropped 2 players, sure, but now the post-Uber fight comes in. Mr. Muffins finds Beats. That's a great start. They're walking forward with the Pyro. Kryptonite trying to do what he can. But that Pyro is going to get mulched. Maybe Bears on the point, sawing, but it's going to be tapped out as the scouts do too much work. A 4th round for running with Scizors. And now this could potentially be all she wrote. Velocity of the season could end on a 5-0. Hopefully they can get around, because this would be a horrendous way for it to end.
Yeah, if they're going to pull it back, it has to start now with score limit at 5. This is going to be the end if Velocity don't win 5 rounds in a row here. Rakuso getting aggressive early on. Jarrett does get cleaned up by Shamu, so protecting the Demo Man, but just as I say that, Sky Guy gets the counter frag. Sky in a lot of trouble here. Showstopper managed to find that frag. Bear has taken 0 damage this mid, so it looks like it's going to be a Velocity mid. That's what they need to start changing things around with Bear living with so much HP. This is going to be good for them to roll it into last. And they don't have a whole lot of players, so they can't really get on the second right away. But with this large Uber charge advantage, it's only a matter of time.
Well, you know, there's 25 minutes left. That's a lot of time. If Velocity can flick the switch, you can absolutely pull 4 rounds back easily here. Well, maybe not easily, but there's definitely the time to do it. And if Velocity keep having mids like that, it's going to be a great start. They're in a spot where they've got 80% Uber ad right now, although it is slowly dwindling. But they should be able to push in here before Sky even gets a chance at it. They do drop Crypt, but I think they still probably want to use the super advantage despite that.
Yeah, Roamer going down is at the end of the world. Obviously, you'd like to be able to push in 6v6, but Dingo super caught out as Uber charge is being popped off. He's still living, but he shouldn't live for too much longer. They're going to run in with Shamu, try to focus this gun down. They don't actually get the gun at all. Shamu's just going to choose to get some point time. Does get cleaned up by the remaining players on running with Scizors, but that makes it a 5v5, of course, with Dingo being caught out in the back line.
This guy's up to 85, too.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be a cap, most likely, because they're already in such a rough position with Kryptonite up on Spy. They're probably not looking for that, but I mean, we'll see. It was a nice pop in with that 100%, well, not 100%, but that big Uber charge advantage. Though, they're basically relying on a back cap, and Dingo's got so many sticks. Ooh, this is rough. This is rough.
Yeah, Scizors was spy checking, so I'm pretty sure they're well aware that Kryptonite's on Spy, and because of all those stickies, he's actually going to call an audible. He's going to pull off on it. right now. Start uncloaking. He's right behind Sky. He could get this drop, but he goes for the butter knife. Not meant to be. However, that is actually bought time. And Bear's almost up on that Uber himself. It is now even Uber. Both medics have. So this fight could go poorly, especially since Sky popped so early and dropped Psy Guy. The mulching coming in right now. Velocity, they're getting all of these kills. Sky will escape, but Dingo might get caught here as well. He gets Showstopper. He's still alive, but Pete will finally close it out. They have the cap. Shamu's going straight into this last point right now, as he should. Spawners are not up yet for running with Scizors. They're putting the time on. Mulching's coming in. They found a couple players, but it will be Velocity finally taking around 4-1. Is this the start of a comeback?
It better be. Like, that was an impressive round. Their mids have been really, really good. And this is something you talked about before the match even started. You said Velocity have really textbook mids, really good mids, but, and they've been winning a lot of the mids, okay? Usually they haven't really been able to convert it into rounds, either by rushing it or just losing in the stalemate situations. But with Jarrett getting here a little bit faster than any team Demoman, it's looking good for them so far. But we do have a pause coming out, Dreamboat.
Ah, yes, the pause. Well, that gives us some time to take a look at where everybody is on this bid fight. Everybody is clumped up in Valley right now, just outside of the toilet. So we'll see if, you know, that backfires on them, because Jared is kind of staring right at them. That's about all I can analyze right now on this mid, because no one else has really done anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting way to roll out for AK. You know, they all kind of came around to this flank area. They're kind of wrapping around, and so this is a very specific mid. They're definitely going for something, you know, strategic here. They've got a plan with this, and it's a bit risky, and I like the risk taking in this situation because obviously Velocity have been doing quite well on the mids. I would say the mids have been their best aspect of this match so far. Certainly, the last pushes and the stalemates haven't really gone in their favor, more or less, especially at the last holds. So the mids have been looking pretty well in comparison. But as you said, I mean, we haven't really seen a whole lot go down in this mid fight so far. One key player who I've liked watching on this midpoint has been Showstopper. He's been consistently finding the frag onto Sky, and usually that's sort of happening back in the choke. So with Sky rolling out this way over in the Valley, this could be an attempt to try to keep her alive. But, I mean, Showstopper's already spotted that out. He's not in a position to bomb at this point in time, but he knows he knows that they're there. He should be aware of this, and so he's still looking to get aggressive later on in this mid.
The thing to note as well is the fact that this is, again, that kind of Velocity textbook, standard, default mid. And one of the ways that you counter that is a much more aggressive mid, getting right up through their house, trying to get right into them. And that's really where everybody on Running with Scizors is. So assuming the execution is there, this could actually be a very strong counter to the mid that Velocity is running. Of course, if you mulch them on this mid, that really puts a damper on this game, especially if you keep your meta alive, because it could potentially be a chance for Running with Scizors to close this out. All of it will come down to execution, but I mean, Scizors right below point as well could potentially go up there. These soldiers could bomb in. You have Rakuso sitting way back in his choke right now, probably going to go for some aggressive quick bomb. And if you combine that with Psy, you could absolutely mulch all of these Velocity players.
The only thing that I would be worried about right now for 8K, because obviously, like, yeah, they lost the last round, okay, but really, they're still up 4-1. That's quite a lead they have now. And so with four more opportunities even to score one round, they should be able to get that. Just mathematically, I mean, because these teams are so close, they've got 4 rounds where they only need to win one of them. Mathematically, they should get that. The only reason I could see them not getting at least one round in this situation is if something happens in the mental factor. And of course, that's something that you can't really measure the same way you can, you know, oh, this person's got great DPM, this person lives a lot in games. But the mental factor is a really important factor that can be kind of hard to measure. And so with AK losing that one round, they lost it kind of fast too. Losing that one, I worry that maybe they'll start to slip. Velocity as well can be a very emotional team, and because of that, if they can really work off of this feeling after winning that round, if they can continue up with this, I don't want to say that it's a comeback, Dreamboat, because it's still so far off, but I could see it. I can envision it in my mind, and I want it to happen.
Well, and you know, if it was an absolute monster comeback, that would give you a lot to talk about in breakfast analysis. Yeah, that's right, everybody out there. This is where I get to plug things, and you guys get to just take it. So I have to plug what is one of my favorite podcasts. One of the best podcasts in TF2 is Breakfast Analysis with Cornpop 16. Of course, the breakfast cereal does the breakfast analysis. So I think that's every Sundays at around noon for your time zone.
Noon MST, so 2 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. Go tune in there. You get to listen to Cornpop talk while you eat cereal. It's definitely worth watching.
I would, this might be a little bit bold, but I would say it's the best breakfast-based esports analysis show out there today. So
that's a very high bar with some very specific parameters, but I'd agree with it.
Thank you. Thank you. If you're interested in eating breakfast and listening to a nerd talk about Invite TF2, that's your place to go. Appreciate the plug, Dreamboat. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly nice to be able to talk about the whole scene in general. Go down each team and go down the standings. What I would predict to go down, and this match especially has been one that I've been anticipating for a long time now. Basically since like week 6, I kind of saw this match and I'm like, you know what? If the cards play out how I think they will, this might end up being a one match determines playoffs, and here we are, week 9, where one game determines who makes 4th seed, who makes 5th. Quite a big margin, or an important margin at least, to be able to cross over that line. So I'm excited to be casting this one. I do want to check on the score. I don't have it up or anything, Dreamboat, but it just popped into my head. I want to see what the score is on that Froyotech Ascent game. Do you want to give me a prediction if you haven't looked at it already?
I have it up right now.
Okay.
Funnily enough, it was a 5-3 Froyo game.
Okay, that's not bad actually. Were you watching it at all? I know Shade was streaming it. It was Froyotech.
I was sort of occupied here. I was not watching. I'm good. I'm fabulous at watching TF2. I'm not good enough to cast a game, watch a game, and then be able to speak coherently. But the thing is, to some of the people that will look like, oh, they stole 3 rounds, don't put too much weight into this game. And that's kind of the warning I have, is because it meant nothing to Froyo.
Right.
It meant nothing to either team in terms of playoff positioning, and it's a new Ascent lineup. So if you didn't watch it, if you do go back and watch any of the VODs, the thing to do is find a couple positive things to take away from it, but don't put too much stock into the fact that, Froyo lost 3 rounds. Or if they lost this game, don't put too much stock into the fact that Froyo lost, just because a new lineup in a mean-nothing game. I mean, potentially that could have been a 5-0 for Ascent, just because Froyo literally couldn't have tried.
Yeah. And another thing I want to touch on in this is that the last time Froyotech had a 5-3 match, it was against TF Crew. And if you're not aware, TF Crew is not very good. So I didn't watch the Froyotech TF Crew match, but I can only assume that ever since Rewind ended, Froyotech have been taking these matches a little less seriously, especially if you look at Shade's DPM in a couple of games. I mean, it's questionable what class he was playing the whole time. I think Froyotech, now that LAN is over, they're taking the season a little bit lighter. They're not dropping any games. They're not like throwing entire games away, but it seems like after they get up like 3-0 or 4-0, they kind of are content just to, not put in 100% effort. And that's kind of uncharacteristic of Banny, just based on his previous play, but definitely based on some of the other players on that team, I could see them doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that has me kind of in saying, like, yeah, this could be a bit of a meme fest, or like this could have been like just Froyo throwing for a few rounds, is the first half was 3-0 Froyo.
Yeah.
The second half at one point when I looked was, I think, 3-0 Ascent. And at one point it was definitely 3-1 Ascent. So it's a spot where it's like, yeah, okay, Froyo rolls them to a 3-0 first half, and then Froyo stops caring, and because of that, Ascent kind of claw their way back in, get those 3 rounds, and then Froyo go back to actually try hard Froyo. So I do like that. Those are kind of red flags to me, having not watched the match, to say that the scoreline's closer than the game actually indicated.
Yeah, and that's actually a very common theme that I noticed with the other 2 5-3s that Froyotech have had this season. Was they played TF Crew, and then Black Swan was the other team that they dropped 3 rounds to. And in both of those, the first half started a 3-0 for Froyotech. So it seems like they do have this sort of formula if they're playing a team that they're confident against. They'll try hard the first map. If they get 3-0 very easily, they will kind of give it up. But the pause is over, Dreamboat. He can be done stalling. Rakuso's in a lot of trouble. He's going to get the first, he's going to be taken down first. Showstopper now on Sky as well. Does manage to get the frag down onto her. So that's no medic on the side of running with Scizors. But meanwhile, Velocity are kind of scattered in this point. You can tell 8K definitely have the positioning advantage. But if Velocity can run back in, and that's exactly what they're doing, Shamu and Showstopper both getting a couple of frags. And now with the skill stick, Showstopper finds the back of Dingo and gets the frag on him. So once again, the Velocity mid is very strong.
Yeah, these mid fights come in hot and heavy for Velocity right now, winning 2 straight in dominant fashion, keeping their meta alive, getting the super advantage set to roll in. It's exactly what you want to see.
And we got another pause.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh man, I hope this is just like maybe they're trying to get somebody to the server. I know Sagai was having issues with ping, obviously. So I hope, this is kind of what I think might happen. I hope this didn't happen, but he might have dropped out of the server. They took all that time to try to get him back in. Now they're getting them back in, because oftentimes we see that where like a team, they'll just like unpause and then pause again to let a player join the server. That was a bit long of an unpause for just getting a player back in.
Yeah,
but
you usually sit there and kind of pause and then like have pause, copy, and paste it so you can immediately put it back in console. Like you usually a lot quicker than I'm gonna lose a mid and let them get most of second cap and then pause again. So I'm thinking that something may have happened. Then again, this is also at a different time for us, real time. But still, the delay was enough that makes you think, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are 90 seconds in the past, so basically just how STV works is everything is delayed for us except for the pauses. The pauses happen real time, but the game doesn't correspond with the pauses. It's hard to explain, but basically this isn't where the players paused. We're on a 90-second delay. They actually paused 90 seconds in the future, so more or less just understand that this isn't where they were pausing. And in about 90 seconds, we'll see all the players kind of jitter around and somebody might disconnect, and then we'll have our answer as to what was going on. Generally, the players talk in the chat about it or whatever, but I hope it's nothing nothing major, because if this is the time where Sagai starts having connection issues, like obviously he was having ping issues beforehand, but it didn't matter because they were winning. Now if Velocity starts their comeback and the best player on running with Scizors can't play the game, that's a disaster.
Well, and not that it means a lot, but do you want to start to hear my kind of what has been a bit of a difference? You look at Pete right now. He's top scoring on his team outside of Bear, which leads me to believe he has something more than the 6 kills that he got in the entirety of the first half. Pete and Shamu starting to pop off. Evil Mr. Muffins. That's a mouthful. Is starting to struggle. He's bottom on his team right now, and he was the guy that was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So now we're in a spot where these scouts are starting to take off for Velocity. One of the scouts is stopped running. He's gone for walking it with his Scizors. We're in a spot that's definitely a situation where Velocity can kind of chime into a comeback.
Yeah, and especially in 2018, where it's basically Scout Fortress 2. Not quite, but Scout's such a dominating class. For your scouts to turn it on, it can really make or break the thing for your team. So, yeah, Pete and Shamu being so high up on the scoreboard, just 1 point apart. I mean, scoreboard, it's hard to judge anything off that. Obviously, scouts get a lot of cap points as well. But it means something, they're definitely contributing to their team, and we can't look at logs just yet because the way ESEA updates their stats, we won't be able to see any updated logs right now, but that's good to see from the scouts of Velocity for Shamu and Pete both to come out here. Maybe Pete's hitting a little more of those Christmas ornaments. I don't know what the increased source of kills could be, but certainly if he's turning it on for his team, that's awesome for them, and that's going to certainly help them in this comeback that they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, he took the pause, sang some Christmas carols, and prayed to the gods of Christmas so that he could get in the spirit of giving, and was giving some nice ornaments to the face of the other team.
Welcome to TF2, ladies and gentlemen. We're festive all year round. It doesn't stop.
Time to change my avatar back to the picture of me with a Santa hat. As the pause is done.
Hey, we're back here, Velocity on the second point, capping it off. looking to get into last, and we're about 90 seconds-ish from where that first pause happened, a little bit off of it, so we'll see. If it happens right in this fight, that would be bad, but if it happens just after, that could be okay. Velocity at huge uber charge advantage, looking to get in on this last point. It is even in terms of players. Everybody's respawned back up, and they're going to pop in forward, leading with Shamu. Jarrett right there with him. Kryptonite takes down the gun. They're clearing the points off. There's 6 off the point. Scizor on that Pyro class. Gonna be able to deal some damage with a big bomb by the soldiers coming in. Beautiful job by Velocity, executing that perfectly.
Yeah, Jarrett's just going to jump onto the point. Let him bait it. They did a lot of baiting on the point, and it happened to work out. They just got the cap. What can you do?
What can you do? That makes it 4-2 as we're coming into the third mid-fight? Fourth mid-fight of the half. And running with Scizors, I mean, they want to try to turn these mids around for them. I don't know if they're going to have a player disconnect in the middle of this or what, but currently they are in with all their players, and they're going to try to get some damage down on the enemy teams. The Kryptonite's taking quite a bit. He's going to be able to survive for now, but Rakuso's right on top of him. Meanwhile, Sky's in so much trouble. Showstopper and Shamu all over her. Bear, beautiful surf back into house. He's going to be okay. Dingo just looking for this player, but he's going to end up cratering down to his death. So another really nice mid from Velocity, and right here is where the pause happens.
Yeah, and just reading chat, it's saying that Evil Mr. Muffins is literally lagging out. So it was Mr. Muffins that explained why he was having some struggles.
Yeah, so with that, that could have contributed to their loss in the mid-fight there. I'm not sure. It seems like he's back in the game. He's kind of just standing still right now, so we'll see if he's still playing. But with Guy going down to Showstopper, I'm not sure that's exactly what they were looking for. Here comes the pop-out now from Velocity, and they could be starting to turn this around. The Pyro gets caught out as well, so with Scizor going down, that makes it a 4-on-6, and Velocity have gotten so much point time. Another soldier ends up dying, and Velocity are just executing this beautifully. Scizor on the point, but he can't survive for that long. It's a 4-3 Dreamboat, and I'm not sure how fair that last round was, but regardless, this score is getting a whole lot closer.
Can you feel the crumbling? Can you feel the holes in their game? They're turning into cheese, and not the good hard kind. They're just dropping it. They're looking moldy, and they're struggling as they need to win another mid-fight here. Dingo, he's getting lit up so early. Kryptonite just gets him for free. This is almost comical. It's the fact that the crumble has been this strong. Shamu finds another kill. Finally, there's a bit of a response as a couple kills come in, but all the players from AK have backed off again. Pete runs in and he finds Sky. He just held W, got that kill. They need to keep Bear alive. It's all on Shamu and Jarrett right now. Sizz is lurking around. He goes down with ease. Another scout there. Shamu gets him too. Man, oh man, full Uber for Bear.
They're so confident on these mid-fights. Velocity are looking so incredibly good. And it's not even just one player. Like, literally every single player, I think, not got a frag necessarily, but had a really impactful moment in that mid-fight, barring maybe Bear, because his team did everything for him. But, like, oh my god, Velocity executing that mid perfectly. Now they're going to be looking to get into this last point, of course, with Sai just getting taken down as she tried to escape from that forward spawn. It's going to be 100% ad for Velocity coming in, trying to tie up the game. We thought this was going to be a 5-0 just a few short minutes ago, Dreamboat.
Oh, how the tides have turned as Shamu runs straight in with the shiny red Uber on his back. Clears off some stickies, putting time on it. Will be taken out by Dingo, and this hold's not going particularly poorly as they're getting all of these kills. Everything is going the way of 8K. He's going to be show in on last year. He'll be taken out. Sky's going to live with full Uber. So that crumbled.
All right. Get confident, but don't get that confident. Really, Velocity, that's not a push they wanted to lose, but they're still sort of in the driver's seat. You can tell they're on this middle point. They can have to run into them, and this is going to be a tough one to hold. It is still 100% Uber charge for Sky, so they're in a bit of a tough spot with Uber charge disadvantage, but they don't want to give it up too easily, of course. If they can get a force out or anything at all, they can call that a success, but they're still just like back spawning, and Bear's dropping quite a few players. Obviously, doesn't have that Uber charge, but with it being popped off of 8K, this could be a good move for them. Well, Kryptonite's right in onto the medic, and he's going to do so much damage to take down the player. There we go. Sky ending up dying there. Now Bear on 100% HP. The scouts all around him just protecting him. He's going to be A-okay in a situation like this. And you can tell AK, they still want to frag on a Bear if they can. But Pete and Shamu, you already mentioned it, but they're so on this half that they're definitely not going to let that happen. And now, tides have turned once again. We should be okay. Velocity fans, never fear, because they should be getting right in on this middle point as soon as their players actually arrive.
Yeah, they've got that full Uber, and now we just have the leapfrog situation. You know that 8K is going to try and do exactly what Velocity just did. Try and force out this pop early, try and keep Sky alive. See how it's going to work. Is it's the Valley push this time from Velocity. That could allow Bear to get mulched quite heavily as the bomb from Mercuso gets right in there. Doesn't manage to do too much damage. Bear is still okay for now. Now the players on 8K have to back out here. The spam's coming in quite heavy. Mid will fall. Sky's up to 70% on that Uber right now. And I'm just checking that it is Uber. In fact, so the Velocity, they need to get in on the medic here, or Sky needs to get way out. Here comes the push, quite heavy, quite fast forward. Sky's getting pressured right now, only on 96%, getting so close. Will get it just in the nick of time. And Shamu will go down. So Velocity are going to be content with that, getting mid, backing off, and playing off an even Uber situation right now.
Shamu not hitting those shots is so important here. If 8K are managing to hold on right now, if they can get back in onto this middle point, I mean, it's a 5v6 situation in favor of them. Mercuso with a big bomb in onto Bear. Not really looking at him, but Scizor kind of runs in, finds a cleanup frag onto Jarrett with no demo man. It's going to be rough with Velocity to hold on, so they lose 2 of their soldiers as well. Now Bear is all alone, having to reconnect back up with Pete. Christmas Ornament doesn't hit anybody, and that's 6 times on the point. Looks like 8K are going to be able to take this mid right back over. It's even Uber charges, but with no players, Velocity can't even hold on to second.
Yeah, and this is kind of a rough spot for them to be in and just have to push off. They threw 3 players in there trying to get Sky, which I like the idea behind. The execution just wasn't there, so now they're stuck back on their last point.
And once again, it's match points as it has been for running with Scizors. I mean, they kind of started the comeback, and it is even. But Velocity have historically not done well on these even Ubercharge last holds. 8K have done a really, really clean job being able to push in. Most of the time, they haven't been perfect, but historically, they've got a good record in this game. Even Ubercharge, as I said, Pete's up on Sniper to try to put a dent in this plan. I don't expect 8K to rush this. Obviously, they've got so much time, and time's in their favor, too. You know, they've got this score advantage, and they just let Velocity get some rounds, and they don't want that happening again. They run 2 players in. Mercuso does get taken down. He was trying to retreat, but with him and Scizor both getting taken down, this is going to be an attempted push out from Velocity. This is hard to commit to, but with Shamu right in onto Dingo, if he can get this right here, he's going to get it. Jumps beautifully in, just dodging every shot from Evil Mr. Muffins. Now we see the other scout in as well. Pete not quite able to replicate that success, but it doesn't matter because the entire rest of the team is in here behind him. Baron Showstopper want to take down Evil Mr. Muffins. This is a bit tough because he's kind of a scout in an open area. Watch out for Scizor. He is back on last fighting. Kryptonite's back there to try to watch him, and Scizor's backed off. He finds the entire rest of the team, and Jarrett's managing to get some damage down onto him. So it wasn't quite a successful push out, but they put some fear into the hearts of 8K.
Well, that was everything that needed to be done by Evil Mr. Muffins. As soon as Pete died, there were no scouts on the side of Velocity. It's a lot harder to deal with those scouts, especially when they have tons of stuff to bounce off of. Mr. Muffins did a great job delaying their combo. Scizor did a great job trying to put pressure on last, and that forced Velocity to back out because there was no way they could kill them. Now, the interesting thing is Sneaky Pete living up to that alias, sitting in lower main on Spy.
Sneaky Pete is my favorite Spy player in the game. I don't even think he's that good at the class, honestly. I just like the nickname. So we'll see what he can do here. It fits really well. And he might have just seen all of 8K coming to this right-hand side. He's right behind Sky. She's not... Oh! She gets dropped, and the soldiers turn around, but it's far too late for that now. With Scizor getting taken down at the exact same moment by Jarrett, this is going to be a beautiful opportunity for Velocity. No sniper, no medic left on the field. Always got to watch out for that back cap on Badlands, but nobody's super in position for it. Guy was kind of going for something sneaky there, and there's still another bomb in. Showstopper gets Goomba Stomp, but Bear has to pop that Uber charge off. Sky went down, so it's still going to be even Uber charges. That means they're not going to be able to roll it all the way back to last, like Velocity were originally looking to do. But that's okay. They've still gotten off of their own last, and that's a lot of pressure off of their shoulders.
And do you like instant karma, Cornpop? Do you like instant karma?
I do.
Do you like the fact that you just called Pete not a particularly good Spy player, and then he drops the medic?
Oh, okay, I didn't say it was
let
bad.
that sit there.
I didn't say it was great, though.
Well, you know, he makes the great play, and as he's done quite frequently. I'm on Team Sneaky Pete. And also, I have to give a shout out here. Shout out to Uncle Dane for coming up with that nickname. The absolute legend.
Uncle Dane, big supporter. You know what? He even sponsored with his brand TF Crew another invite team this season. So I'm a big Uncle Dane fan, if I do say so myself. But In the meantime, I mean, 8K are sort of running around on this flank. They don't want to, they're still sort of in the power position here. And you can tell the time limit's about at 10 minutes right now, a little bit under that. So with about a third of the round, or a third of the half still to go, it's still only a 1-point advantage for 8K, but 8K are sitting on this middle point. Showstopper's in very bad position here. Saigai wins the pocket trade, so that's a one-player advantage. Now they can kind of work their way in on the flank if they want to. This is getting a bit dangerous for Velocity. Gotta be careful if they don't get caught out here. They have popped the Uber charge off. Sky onto Saigai. Bear's holding it for a whole lot longer. With the shotgun, finally Bear's forced to pop off, and Saigai just left to run back up onto that Spire. Maybe find a frag if he can, but with Bear all nice and shiny, it's gonna be pretty much impossible at this point. Now we see him getting taken down, but Crippling also going down. There's some players in behind. This is a really hectic fight. Players all over the place. We'll see Sky's in a really rough spot, but nobody's looking at her. So Uber shot on the Bear. He's gonna manage to back off because nobody's turned around to look at the medic who's right behind. I mean, there's 4 players down on the side of 8K, still only soldiers down on the side of Velocity, so they come out on top, but my god, they should have had that medic frag.
Well, and here's the key thing. Sky managed to get a saw in there, is now up to 70% on this Uber, so assuming Sky will get out, that's a huge play, considering the Uber advantage that has just been gained, especially since Bear hasn't been healing and building particularly great. It's almost 40%, and Sky's gonna know that there's an advantage, so Sky wants to come right into it with this Uber. Here it comes, pop that onto this point. They're trying to get onto Jarrett. They will find that kill. Bear should escape with his life, and I think they're only going to drop the demo, so they might want to go back into this.
Nice, especially with Scizor getting taken down there. That's exactly what they wanted. A little bit over-aggressive. His team wasn't with him, and now here we see Bear popping it off. See if they can repeat the success they just saw. Even Mr. Muffin's the one-on-one with Pete in the back lines here. Kind of losing it, but nobody really dealing enough damage to get the frag. Now, it seems like nothing has happened so far. There's 2 AK players in behind. One of them is going to go down. One of them finds a frag. Now it's Pete versus Raguso. The winner of the 2 1v1s is going to get cleaned up in the back with that pistol and help from Kryptonite. So AK now are the ones who are re-aggressing back into the middle point. A lot of back and forth happening in this fight, but I think it is going to be Velocity staying on top. I mean, Dingo's trying to spam some stickies down, but everybody's still pretty healthy on the side of Velocity. And with Dingo dropping down, Scizor running in, I don't really agree with this decision to stay in from 8K. Dingo, beautiful shot by Kryptonite. He's going to be able to get the follow-up as well, but over on this middle point, I mean, Saigai's still trying to get in. Jarrett got pretty low, but with Saigai taken out, AK didn't want to let up, but they should have a long time ago.
Yeah, and now down 3 players, they need to completely concede second, and keep in mind that both teams really only need this 1 round. Velocity, if they get it, tie it up with about 7 minutes left on the board, and that's going to allow them to either potentially push this to a final, like, to winning round, or at least get the golden cap. They're at least going to clinch the time if they can close this round out. And now, I mean, it is even Uber. Scizor, I think he's checking for off classes, but he might commit to something here because he is a bit of a cheeky player. And he is going to go up on that sniper class.
Yeah, it's Scizor. He's always going to be looking for that scope in, so... Velocity Esports now with about 7 minutes left on the clock, looking to tie up the game. It's an even Uber charge situation. They're going to throw in Kryptonite, but right as that happened, Pete gets sniped. Now, those aren't 2 crucial players, but the fact that there's 2 of them is really important. Now, it is Badlands, so it's a tough push out. Scizor's choosing to get aggressive because of this. Bear is aware he's hiding behind that Spire, so he's not going to get his head blown off today. And with some smart passive play from Velocity, they're going to be able to hold on to their second point. Nothing bad, and they're going to have another opportunity to get in on this last point.
Yeah, I mean, the player who's definitely watching there is that the push out was starting to happen with Shamu, because depending where Shamu went, that could have been the entire round. Fortunately, no push out happened. Shamu didn't need to go for any kind of shenanigans. He's instead having difficulties jumping into the drop down window. Finally gets to jump. He's up here. It's even Uber situation. Pete's on sniper, trying to deal with the former Highlander sniper of Scizor. See how this works out. Really, they're just taking pot shots and neither are connecting.
Ooh. Well, he hit one quick 150 headshot onto him there. You know, this is what Pete
See what
really
I said?
brings.
Instant karma. Instant karma.
What? I was about to talk about
No, me. I'm saying
gotcha.
that. Like, I mean, yeah, you know, neither of them are hitting anything, and then Scizor gets headshot. Just instant karma. It's right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible. Like, Pete's actually pretty good at, like, every class in this game, or at least all the, like, off classes that we see getting played. So, that's really what he brings here. He does eat a 150 body shot now, and he's just hiding. As he's just trying to take him down with, like, the SMG or something. He's still going for these headshots. I don't know, he's got to back off and get some health back up. But Pete's so flexible and able to play really everything. He does get his head blown off there to Scizor, who's maybe not as flexible, but definitely the better sniper overall. So, able to win that 1v1. See if Pete chooses to respawn, but he can come up on anything. He's so flexible.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of have the adventure with Pete as well. Scizors, of course, checking for those off classes. But the thing is, I mean, he can come up Semper twice here, he can come up Spy, he can change it up, do what he wants because he's so effective across the board. That said, time is starting to wind down. We're into about 5 minutes left in the game. That's going to put things, definitely a lot of pressure on Velocity. Running with Scizors, can't afford really to drop this round. They don't want to go to a golden cap, especially if they're dropping 4 straight. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah, time's still ticking down. Less than 5 minutes left on the clock. Velocity, of course, with just one quick push, they could tie it all up and send us to a golden cap or even give an opportunity to win the game outright. But they've got some time to work with still. They're in a position where they can wait until the last moment if they want. They've got a whole lot of options, and they're choosing just let Pete get blown up time and time again. I mean, Scizor definitely on point this game. Sometimes you can see snipers get a little inconsistent, but with a player who's as seasoned as Scizor is on this class, it's not usually going to happen for him. Now, there is a big flank in by Saigai. He's not really finding anybody. Now he finds a couple of players, but they're going to get the better of him. Showstopper does die, making it a 1-for-1 trade, but again, all that really does is waste time. Velocity, they probably don't want to push in immediately after that trade. So that's just more time ticking down where they can't really go. Unless they want to pop into this left-hand side. Oh boy, here they come. Trying to get that gun down now. We see Jarrett does manage to get it with the stickies, but instantly Sky pops his recharge in kind. They've worked Shamu back in behind here, so he does get taken down by Dingo, and that's a 4v6 situation. That's where Velocity got to start backing off. Kryptonite's going to be fine. He took a little bit of damage there, but now they're hoping for some post-Uber charge chaos. They can maybe go for a back cap or anything they can find here, but AK look like they're poised to push out. Nobody's in a position to back cap, so this could be very good for AK if they can manage to get on the second point. A lot of security, but here comes Showstopper. Gets the air shot.
What an air shot! Sent that to the moon and got the kill, and that's huge. Bear still alive. This is going to be massive Uber advantage, and with time dwindling down, this could be so key for Velocity because Show has the heroics.
Okay, that's 100% Uber charge advantage in favor of Bear, or 85, so as good as 100. They're going to be getting ready to get in this last point, and 8K, they're scared.
Man, oh man, now look at this as well. AK's quite a bit forward. They're going for a bit of a forward hold, and they could get mulched here if they're not careful. There's not the off classes set up, and with that full Uber add, Velocity should be able to just walk pretty much right in here. They're being a little bit hesitant. But again, no off classes are going to be on the side of running with Scizors.
Coming all down to this. If Velocity make this push, they will tie up the game. Popping in this left-hand side. There's nobody really to get damage down. Shamu's just going to use his opportunity to get on the point. He's got it pretty much capped off, and even Mr. Muffins runs on now. Here comes the collapse from everybody. 2 down on each side. There's so much point time. Dreamboat, we got a tie game, 4-4. It doesn't get closer than that.
Oh my lord. Velocity have done it with 2 minutes left on the clock. They tie this game, at least clinch the golden cap. There is still about 2 minutes left. That is absolutely time to do it. And this could be a nightmare crumble for 8K if they do lose this round, because 2 minutes, this is a huge mid on Cornpop.
Kryptonite already so far deep in behind on the second point. The enemy team has gotten so much damage down put onto him. Rakusa wins that 1v1 at the same time, though. Evil Mr. Muffin gets taken down on the middle point. So now it's a 1v1. Shamu over in that toilet does get taken down, but Pete over on the enemy team side as well. So it's just frags going back and forth, back and forth. One player adds for Velocity, but with Rakusa bombing in, also gets taken down. There's a lot of players down for AK. It's just Dingo. There's no way with such little HP up against Pete and Jarrett, he's going to get anything done. Muffin spawns on Engineer. This is looking good for Velocity.
Yeah, I mean, Jarrett with the mad pipe onto Sky has pushed this into a spot where, again, there's the full Uber on Velocity. They have had a little bit of issues with the sentry guns in the past, and the Pyro especially, which is what Sizz is on, but there is still plenty of time for this push to come in and about a minute left.
This is so doable. I mean, coming back from a 4-0 deficit, Velocity eSports looking to close off this match, secure the final playoff spot in ESEA Invite Season 27. Charging forward with Shamu. Got to get this gun down if they can. There we go. Jarrett gets it with the stickies. No time on point just yet, and they only got Saigai with this frag. Traded out for Kryptonite, so Showstopper going down. They got a little bit of point time, but AK looking pretty solid so far in this defense. Shamu pretty low. Jarrett as well. They got to watch out. Here comes the Pyro from Scizor, and he's going to be able to out a lot of players. Is he going to get Bear as well? Yes, he is. Was that a 4K from the Pyro of Scizor? I think it was 3 or 4 at least, and that was a failed push in the last.
Yeah, and that's going to do it pretty much with 20 seconds left on the clock. There's no way that running with scissors push out here. We are just going to head to Golden Cap, which, you know what, I'm pretty glad about. I need a second to breathe, slow my heart down, catch my breath, what have you. There are just a couple players running in right now trying to see if they can get the back cap. But that is a good cap. Here we go. Golden Cap. Golden Cap? Can you believe it?
A 4-0 comeback Golden Cap, Dreamboat. I mean, I don't think you could handcraft a closer game or a better comeback story than this. You can just tell how evenly matched these teams are, and it was looking so bad for Velocity. I mean, with AK coming out so early, looking so dominant, I thought this was gonna, we were talking about a 5-0. I mean, this was certainly looking like it was in the bag, but then Velocity, I don't know what happened. They turned it on, they got their head in the game, and maybe the pressure just got to AK.
And I mean, one of the things that was the issue in the first half was both Pete and Shamu, neither of them were having particularly good games. Shamu is now up to 34 kills, third highest fragger in the server behind both pockets. Size on 36, shows on 39, going meaty. And Pete's up there too now. He's up at the 26. He's got himself back to going even at 26 and 26 after I think it was 6 and 14 in the first half. So huge step ups from both of the Velocity scouts. Showstopper doing work as you'd expect him. I mean, he was hitting some vintage Showstopper air shots there as well. And I mean, Jarrett, he also has turned it on. He had less kills than Pete in the first half. He's up there now, 26. He's gone positive. All of these players showing up very strong for Velocity, and a real reason why this is now a tie game.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to mention Showstopper before the half because he was like the only player that actually had decent stats on the side of Velocity. He was the only one above 200 DPM. He was top fragging for his team. He was still going negative. As we see him right now, he's 39 and 33, so he's turned that around. But the rest of the players have certainly caught up. They're not hitting insanely high DPM. It's been a slow game, though. There's not very many players at all who are hitting above 200 DPM in the server, so I mean, that's nothing too devastating for them, but just in terms of frags and everything, you've seen them come back. And running with scissors, their stats have certainly looked better before. Guy's back in his normal spot of top damaging his team, but it's still not that high. It's 233. It's the top of the server. But, I mean, you look in terms of, like, across the board, and Scizors kind of low there, 128 DPM, 29
Keep
frags.
in mind, as well, we did have that Mongo length pause, which is going to tank your DPM. So, like, again, I had a bit of a hard time looking at this. I'm like, wow, I mean, some of these guys are like, Scizor 128? That can't be right. And I'm like, oh, no, pause. Like, that prorates to a much higher number.
Yeah. I mean, like, the actual numbers don't really matter as much as it is how they compare to the rest of the players in the server. But we're live here in the Golden Cap of the last match of ESEA Invite Season 27's regular season. It's the match for playoffs. Running with Scizors versus Velocity eSports. The next team to win a round will make playoffs. Dingo goes down extremely early, trading out for Kryptonite, making it a 5-on-5. This is looking good for Velocity. Their mids have been so good so far in this game. You can see how the rest of this turns out. They do lose their second player. Showstopper gets taken down here, but still 3 left alive on the side of 8K. They're not going to be winning this one.
Notice how this was a much more passive mid as well out of running with scissors because they've been dropping Sky in most of them, and they didn't want to do it here. That said, Velocity are still trying to get quite thirstily on Sky right now, seeing if they can't find this med pick, and med is actually trapped in trash. This could be a nightmare scenario for running with scissors if they're not careful, but instead, Sai's actually done enough to push back Velocity.
Yeah, no soldiers on the side of Velocity because they both died on that middle fight, so nobody to really bomb it on the medic in that situation, so she was okay. But definitely a heartbeat moment there as she was looking out. So we're back here in our old familiar spot, mid to second, 100% on both medics. And that's an interesting point you brought up there. Sky Living, she's died so often on these mid fights. So being able to stay alive in this one, that's crucial. Obviously, they did still lose it, but that means they're not getting rolled completely back. And it's a big bomb by Kryptonite, but there's no players out here because the rest of the 8K team have sort of rotated in with their combo through house. They come back now, seeing that Kryptonite has given his life away. Rakuso now maybe looking to do the same, but so much damage down put onto him. He should be okay backing off to his own flank. So just sort of reset here.
Yeah, I mean, taking a little time, seeing how this is going to go. And this actually, like, this probably bodes well for running with scissors because this feels a bit more like the first half pace that we had. and Velocity are losing so many of those fights. The advantage now, of course, is the fact that there's actually the show up of Pete and Shamu, so maybe they can lose one of these more slower fights. And we're seeing them trying to put pressure on the flank right now, so they might actually be able to convert this, but we'll see. Rakuso's in a lot of trouble, and Pete's just going to run through and two-shot him. And now Pete is in behind, causing havoc, as we are used to seeing.
And we've seen him win these 1v1s in behind before, but Velocity is just going to use this as an opportunity to push out. Shamu kind of beefing his shots there, not getting the force out of Sky as early as they wanted to. Now Shamu's kind of just forced to get out here. They are going to lose Kryptonite there on the back lines. Also, Evil Mr. Muffins gets taken down, so Velocity's still not in a bad position. It's a 5-on-5 as they're getting into the second point. Pete in behind still causing so much havoc, and he's right on the medic now. If he can hit some shots, doesn't look like it's going to happen. So that guy hits a nice direct there to be able to shut that down, and another soldier bombs on in. Again, Showstopper gets taken down. Sky barely living here. I mean, doesn't really eat a whole lot of damage, but with so many players throwing their life at her, it's a miracle that she's still alive. Bear as well, miracle he's still alive, as there's so many players chasing him down. Both medics playing very safe in this game so far. Neither of them have died in this Golden Cap.
Oh, this Golden Cap's got a little bit of everything. Including players overstaying their welcome. I really thought Bear should have died there, but instead Mr. Muffins is going to die to the nice bomb from Kryptonite. Rakuso's in a bit of trouble here. Might find Crypt. Not going to. So now with man advantage for Velocity, this is working out surprisingly well, and Shamu's taking a lot of space forward. He made a go for solo Uber. Not meant to be. Actually, they've opened up space for Kryptonite to go flying in. Won't find that kill. Should go back to the stalemate.
So we're talking about the Saigai shotgun, man. He hasn't been super flashy with it this game, but it's so consistent to just shut down players who are trying to get greedy on you. He's done a great job so far in this game, so we'll see. I mean, now it's a one-player advantage in favor of AK, but they're not really going to be able to do anything with that. They kind of haven't this whole game. They've been a lot more passive when they've had this one-player advantage compared to Velocity and compared to a lot of teams that we tend to see. Obviously, I mean, it worked out for that first half, but the crumble kind of came out, as we all know, in that second half. So still sitting back and forth here. Saigai maybe looking to get aggressive. He's clearing some C's down into choke. He's getting a lot of buffs. Just opening some space for Rakuso. Takes a lot of early damage though in that bomb. So not able to find anything at all with his rockets. And that once again puts the ball in the court of Velocity.
Well, Pete again taking a lot of space on that flank. Just seeing if he can hit the Christmas ornament shots. Not meant to be. And they're not even going to sack off of that. They're just going to let Rakuso come back, throw himself back in. They're just going to keep opening space up for the Pete play.
Pete and Rakuso both on the same wavelength. Rakuso actually committing to it, though. That's the difference. Pete was just sitting in spawn, managed to check for that off class. So Velocity going to be well aware. I'm not sure if AK, yeah, AK were also aware. So they both checked each other and both decided not to play spy because of it. So now both teams are going to think there's a spy, but there's actually no spy.
Man, this is like the triple layers of spy mind games as Rakuso's going quite aggressive through flank. That might actually give it away, the fact that they've seen two soldiers. They may know that there's not a spy because it would show, you know, Rakuso on that spy with cosmetics. So,
the back lines. He's so good at these scout 1v1s. Every time he gets behind, or an enemy team gets behind, he goes back and he wins the scout 1v1. He's actually so consistent with these. I like his play a lot in a situation like that where Scizor gets him behind.
Well, and the thing is that's the difference between first half Pete and second half Pete, because he wasn't doing it in the first half. He was losing all of those fights in the first half. And that was really allowing, you know, running the Scizors to do a lot more on the flank, having them run rampant. And now that he's stepping up, it means it's time for the big plays. He is checking once again for off classes, so he's going to know that I think Scizors on Sniper. But he's actually committing to it as well. Knows that there isn't one on the other side. Knows it's time for a little bit of Pete shenanigans because they're not going to be doing too much aggressive with Scizor on Sniper. This is time for Sneaky Pete to see if he can live up to his name.
Yeah, and I mean, Pete knows that he can't contest with Scizor on Sniper, so why play safe when you can play dirty? He's going to go try to cloak in behind and see if he can make some magic happen back there. Obviously, this is kind of a tough point for Scizor to work on, just because, like, you've got this long angle, but when the enemy team knows that you're there, they're never going to peek that, at least not with an important class. So with Pete right there feeding information, going to be telling his team exactly where the sniper is at all times. He shouldn't hit any shots in this situation. Obviously, stranger things have happened, but you can tell Scizor's kind of running around in this situation. He might even be just going to change back because he knows that it's not going to work out for him. Or maybe he's checking for the spy. Oh, that's exactly what he's doing.
Oh, that is going to be all kinds of information. You switch to spy, you see Pete's name there, you know, okay, yeah, this is happening. Like,
Yep.
you know that's the case.
Oh man, and Pete now he's got to start going for it because 8K, they're in a situation where they know they're basically in a 5v6 as the soldier gets thrown in there. Bear gets so low, 33 HP. Now the reason 8K just threw a player in there is because they know the spy's in behind and that basically there's no more player on the field. The Sky's still not turning around. She knows there's a spy there. Pete gets the stab regardless. And with that, he's gonna cloak. He's even getting away here, Dreamboat. He's back on 3 HP on this middle point. I mean, he might have even wanted to die, but it doesn't even matter because he got the medic drop, and now Bear's on this middle point. Even Mr. Muffins and Scizor are both in behind, and Muffins kind of having a field day with Jarrett out in the open here. He's gonna be able to get that quick frag. But, I mean, unless they can get the back half, the fact is there's just so much point time already. Velocity don't have to care that much. But even Mr. Muffins, despite how many 1v1s he wins in the back lines against explosive classes, Velocity, they've actually been put in a bit of a tough spot here, despite their huge overcharge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You're going to wait for your players to come up, and then you're going to walk back into this mid.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be able to contest this too much unless, like, you know, unless they want to pop the Uber out. So, I mean, it should be fairly easy for Velocity to get forward. They just got to actually do it. Now they finally are. So they don't want to drop Bear here, of course. And they need to start getting pressure onto Sky. Bear's actually gone down so low, down to 40 HP on this one. One bomb in the right, Rocky could catch him. But instead, everyone's backed out to choke. And now the spam is in here. They might catch a player. Doesn't look like they will, but that is mid going back on the side of Velocity. Sky will unfortunately come back up on the Uber.
Yeah, she's about 90% now, so Velocity in the driver's seat once again. This has been a very long golden cap dream, but sometimes we have golden caps where it's a flash. It's 1 mid and it's over. Well, it's always 1 mid and it's over, but it's, you know, it's one push and it's done. This has not been the case at all, and I think that's a testament to how close these teams are. Pete now coming up on Sniper. Still sitting on this middle point. Again, this is going to be kind of a tough point for Sniper to work, but I don't think 8K know just yet, especially since they're peeking it with Dingo and Psy Guy. They definitely just saw him, and Dingo eats a shot, but going to live to tell the tale.
So, Velocity trying to figure out the way they want to work this Pete. He is just getting quite close to choke. I thought I was going to go for, like, the hero play. You know, the super ballsy just Pete choke.
I said they were confident.
He actually
He's going for it.
He is literally doing it. He gets the shot off, but doesn't find the kill. Man, oh man.
I was ready to scream Dream, but that's a really tough spot. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get that. Shamu got a lot of damage on his Dingo. Regardless, AK are going to pop in this middle point. They want to make something happen. They don't like the stagnation, and Psy Guy down below should go down here. Finally does eat a shot from Shamu. Meanwhile, Kryptonite sort of the back lines on the flank, fighting Kryptonite 1v1. It's a nice rocket, able to take down the soldier player. That means no more soldiers on the side of 8K, and with that, they're going to have to back off of the second point. They can tell they're already on the retreat. Velocity slowly but surely grinding away at this running with Scizors' crew. No overcharge advantage like or anything crazy like that, but it's point after point, and eventually they're going to get to the last.
And here's the thing, like, it feels like a light switch is being, like, flicked on for Velocity. Like, maybe Velocity, the org itself, was just like, yeah, you know what, we'll give you more if you guys make playoffs. And everyone's like, ooh, money, let's go! Or something, because there's been this massive change in Velocity between the two halves. They are now getting set to push towards this last point. Rakuso's checking those off classes on Spy. Actually, he's committed to it. He is out. Ready to have a field day. See if he can look better than the greatest spy in Invite, Sneaky Pete. Is it Rakuso's time to shine?
I don't know. He did a really good job dodging around. I forget which scout it was. I believe it was Shamu. But just barely not getting bumped a couple of times there. So they don't know there's a spy. They might suspect something, but they're going to run a player in. And actually, Pete just runs forward, gets the frag onto the Pyro. Kryptonite goes down at the exact same moment to Dingo. So that's kind of the 2-man sack, but with Rakuso on Spy and with Scizor going down, there's no way 8K can really work with that. I mean, Velocity is so far back, maybe that opens things up for Rakuso, but he's not in position either. I think that's basically just a reset or get Pete a chance to change his class.
Yeah, Rakuso actually backed into forward spawn, swapped off Spy, and actually they've changed it up. Oh, it says it's checking. I thought for a second they and now Rakuso's back. What? I'm so confused.
They're all just trying to check.
So Scizor went to check, and then he swapped off, and Rakuso swapped back to Spy. And because of that delay, Pete had been Spy checking, came up sniper because he saw no spy, meaning that Rakuso's actually gotten onto Spire and is in a great spot here. They do know it. They spotted out. But, like, that could have been such a big brain play by going for, like, the perpetual spy swaps that you actually have it work out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big brain it was and how much just random luck that would have been, but regardless, didn't work out. That'll work out. Dingo with the trap. Bear drops it. Oh, no. He's not going to be happy about that 100% ad for Sky. If there's ever been a moment to go coast to coast for 8K, this is it.
Oh my, Dingo with the trap. Now something needs to happen for Velocity. They need to find a way to try and wrench this Uber from Sky's hand. And there is Pete on Sniper. He'll pick off Evil Mr. Muffins, and because of the way that Spire works, that Sniper could cause a huge pain for running with Scissors. It's not easy to cap when you have something that can just do 150 damage across. And Kryptonite gets the force. Just collapsing so heavily for running with Scissors right now and looking so good for Velocity. They somehow convert that into a spot where they're going to have a slight Uber ad.
This is why a lot of people don't like this map. It's so tough to push out onto the second point, even when you have an Uber charge advantage, even when you drop the enemy team's medic. Now you can see Bear is building like crazy with the only scout who's actually got a Boston Basher equipped. Shamu just going to be hurting himself as much as he can to be able to build up that Uber charge for Bear. Now they're at 80%. You tell Sky's doing the same thing. They need to build as fast as possible because they know that this Uber charge is going to be coming in very quickly here. Velocity on their opportunity to end the game and secure their final playoff spot. Saigai going down early. That's a great pick by Pete. Here they come, top left. Now everybody's back in the spawn. They're not going to get any frags unless Scissor gets too aggressive, but he's doing a good job with the reflex. Problem is a lot of time on point. Everybody's onto it, and that's going to be it. Dreamboat 5-4. Velocity have just secured the final playoff spot.
Unbelievable. That could be one of the greatest comebacks I've seen in a long time. 4-0 down. It looks like it's all she said and wrote. There's no way that Velocity even get a round out of this. Running with Scissors are just gonna crush them, run through them. 4-0, you think it's done. And then Velocity wins a round. And then another mid. And then another round. And another round. And all of a sudden we're at the golden cap. And then you think, okay, Running with Scissors, this is their chance. You know, they drop Bear. They're in a spot where they can finally push out here. And then they get forced. And then they walk back in. And somehow Velocity have capped off what is one of the greatest comebacks I've seen.
What a game, man. That was so incredible. Down 4-0, coming back. I mean, Velocity Esports, they've earned it. Now with this two-win advantage over Running with Scissors, they've got the spot. We can say our final playoff roster is going to be Froyotech, Swift, Ascent, and Velocity in that order. Man, I mean, they still got a long road ahead of them. I mean, it's going to be tough in playoffs, but for now, Velocity can be happy with this win. On the very edge of total collapse, they've come back and they're making playoffs. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, they don't get the most ideal situation out of making playoffs, aside from the fact that they're there, because they do have a date with something that I would not want to have a date with. I would want to avoid at all costs. They get to play Froyo in the first round.
Oh, Froyo's not that good. I believe Velocity are high off momentum.
You can't even decide which team won, Cornpop. You're so confident.
Close. That's how close it was.
Man, oh man, what a way to end the regular season of another season of ESEA. Season 27 ends with a golden cap to settle playoffs. Unbelievable. And sitting on top there, it's actually Sai on top kills.
Yeah, no, I mean, Saigai is incredible. The first half, he wasn't necessarily turning it on the same way he usually does. I mean, the first half, his team was maybe picking it up a bit more than they usually do. I think that second half was more of the Saigai show. From 8K, because obviously, I mean, at least in the golden cap, they certainly played well. And even the first round of the second half, they played well. But Saigai is just so consistent compared to the rest of this team. Not surprising me that he's up there, but Showstopper as well. I mean, this was really the tale of two pocket soldiers coming out for both Running with Scissors and Velocity Esports. Both of them top and second fragging. Both of them top and second damaging for the servers. So great play by them. Consistently throughout the season, they've been top players for their team, so it's not surprising to me that they're coming out on top. But I mean, I don't want to dwell on the stats too much here, Dreamboat, just because I mean that was such an incredible game. Very good to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing that just shows just how close these two teams are is the fact that it was a one frag differential for the entire game, 167 to 166. Can't get any closer than that. We hit overtime. And Cornpop, I think that's given you enough to talk about for breakfast and analyst, and breakfast analysis. That's the name of it. This Sunday. Wow, wow, wow,
For
wow.
sure. Yeah, be sure to keep checking in because obviously next up we got playoffs. It's not stopping here. We're talking like this is a finale, and it is a finale to something, the regular season. But playoffs are just around the corner. I believe they start next week. There might be a week break. I don't even know if ESEA has announced that yet. But regardless, be sure to keep following up on teamfortress.tv. We've got that on the website. Of course, all matches that we cast are posted in the schedule. My name has been Cornpop, and of course, Dreamboat. Thank you for enjoying this cast with me, and big shout out to Azazel as well, our wonderful producer who's been working all night with us. Be sure to tune in later. ETF12 as well is continuing our coverage with that happening later on in coming weeks as well. So,
And there's
thank you
something
so much for
special
watching.
coming too, is there
Ooh,
not, Cornpop?
maybe. I don't want to confirm anything that's not confirmed,
Oh.
but keep an eye out this Sunday.
Ooh.
We'll see you next
Spicy.
time.